Hello, everyone. Michael Jordan fans are the best. And today we're going to be doing another game review like we did last week on game 6 of the 1977 NBA Finals. Uh, First, before we get into all of that, uh, Rex with all capital letters is here today. How are you today?
I'm okay. We'll just leave it at that. Won't get
Yeah,
into everything.
absolutely. Pierre, how are you? How are you today? Um, And I don't know if you want to do this. Maybe we can do an impromptu thing before we get into the game. Pierre, do you want to talk about your one-on-one versus Charles Barkley story? If you do, let me know and I'll drop the link and you can join us and talk about it because I want to hear it. I think it's pretty interesting. Um,
Well, me and him were in the chat before, like a half hour ago, going back and forth. If he could join, that'd be really great because this
yeah,
is his wheelhouse. This era.
you said oh, you want to? All right, here we go. Let's do it. I'll drop the link here. Let's and you can join when you're able to. Um but yeah, no, I think that sounds like an interesting story. I know, Pierre, you said that you're not a super large person, and Charles Barkley definitely is. So I'm
and
curious. I'm curious how that game went, and if you want,
depending on when they played, he was even larger at, if he played him when Barkley was a rookie, he was 300 pounds.
absolutely, Pierre, how you doing today?
Hey, Doc, can you hear me?
Yes,
How you guys doing? Hey, Rex.
Hey,
great, great,
How you guys doing?
wonderful, wonderful. Uh,
Listen,
how,
I got to turn down my TV.
okay,
I got on the Boston Dallas game.
okay.
Let me turn it down.
Who's at home?
team in green.
The Boston's at home.
I don't know. Well, they back in the day they were both wore green, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm colorblind. So if Dallas wears, it looks like blue to me. Dallas with
Well, it
Boston
might
wears
be
this.
now. They change
Yeah.
uniforms every so often, but I remember I used to have a Orlando Blackman jersey back in the day.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear us, Pierre?
Okay, I'm back.
All right. So what is this Charles Barkley one-on-one story that you brought up? I'd love
Well,
to hear it.
it's not a long story. On
Mhm.
I'll just sort of make it short and sweet.
All
But
right.
it's just a little. It happens to be Jordan is a little twist in it at the end.
Okay.
Um, well, this is the bottom line. I used to be in charge of the Acela when I was sick. Before I got sick, I don't know if you guys know what that is.
The speed line in New York is that what you're
No,
talking?
it's the high-speed train that
Mhm.
goes between New York and Boston and New York and Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So I was working the train from Washington to come back to New York, you know, and Charles Barkley got on the train in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
So me and him, we're talking all the way from Philadelphia, minus me working, back to New York. And we're just basically having small talk. But what really got into stuff when I got off the job and the train pulled into New York,
Okay.
because he said to me, "Listen, I don't know, Barkley's crazy." He said, "Listen, I don't know where the NBA offices are." I said, "Well, I'll take it. I know where they are." So I wind up getting off the ship. He's waiting for me in the lobby, right, at the train station.
Yeah.
So I'm wound up getting off shift, and we start talking. And
Mhm.
while I'm taking him to the NBA office, you know, and we basically just talk about the old players, different players, and stuff like that, and nothing really in detail to talk about because we're talking like this is a long time ago, Dark. Okay,
Yeah.
we're talking maybe. I'm trying to get an idea on what year this was.
Probably like
It was
40 years
early
ago.
2000s.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was early 2000s,
Mm.
and I'll tell you why. So, like I said, it's not a really big deal story. I'm just because back then I can't really remember everything we said to each other. But what made it interesting was that me taking him to the NBA office and showing him where they were. And as we're talking about basketball on the train, guess who calls him on the phone? Michael Jordan. Now, what's so interesting about this story, right, Rex, is that that's when they were friends, because they don't talk. So that was so interesting about it. When I look back on it now, I'm just like, these idiots don't even talk now. But when I think about that time, Barkley was saying to me, well, listen, I got to go now because I can't really talk anymore because Michael just called me. So he was like prioritizing MJ right then and there. You know what I mean? Because we were having a really good conversation. We just talk about basketball stuff, general stuff, nothing really major, and different players and stuff like that. And I was telling him how I saw a lot of games live at the Capitol Center because of Gus and everything,
Mm-hmm.
And so we just talked about that. And he was just telling me how much he thought Gus was a good player and also, all that stuff. So just small stuff. But that was really the whole story. Is how it just wound up. Wasn't really anything big or exciting. We just wound up finally Michael Jordan calling him on the phone as we ended our conversation. He had to end the conversation with me because Michael Jordan called. And that was the last time I talked to him. I never saw him after that. So that was the whole Michael Jordan stuff. Nothing exciting about it. I think more exciting is for you and Rex talking about this 1977 game because I didn't miss none of that.
Yeah.
What I just thought of is I wonder how many times you and I passed each other at the Capitol Center.
I was there about, I must have been there about maybe, wow. Rex, you know what? When I really think about it, I was there quite a few times because I was going to Howard at the time, Rex.
Yes.
I was going to Howard University at the time.
I wonder how many times we were probably within 50 yards of each other a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen times.
Yeah, because every time that Gus played, I was there.
Yeah.
I didn't go to any of the games unless he played. So, when he played there, I was there, those games.
I remember when he got there because the thing about Washington, they had so much respect for Gus after the back-to-back finals at the end of the 70s.
Yes.
What's his name? Ferry. Bob Ferry wanted him bad when the chance came to get him. I remember it was front page news in the Washington Post, and there were commercials on TV, and it was like,
right.
Gus is coming.
Now, he was the general manager or the owner? I forgot.
General manager. Abe Pollin was the owner.
Right. Abe Pollin, right. Got it. General manager.
Yep, he was general manager. Gene Shue, which here's 6 degrees of separation for you. The coach of the Bullets at that time was Gene Shue, who was the Sixers.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the 77 NBA Finals.
Pierre,
Yes.
you want to hang out with us as we talk about the game?
Well, of course. I'll hang up for a little while. Unless I get a problem with my breathing, then I'll just shut it down.
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, let's get into it. Go Fly. Welcome.
But I got to ask Rex a good question before you guys start.
Sure.
Excuse me. Rex, I don't know if you saw the text I text you. I wanted to find out from you, what did you really think, in your honest opinion, what the best era was to date in basketball?
Well, you see, that's the thing is I appreciate all the eras because they all have something to offer. My favorite era is the 70s, just because of the amount of change that you had from you know from 69 70 season to the
Right,
79 80 season. It was just, see, there was a point once Stern became second in command and was running the league office in 1980. He basically ran the day to day as of 1980. He became the full on commissioner in 1984, but he was in charge of marketing and business as of 1980. A lot of people don't understand that. That's when he started making his mark. And that is when they started changing the game, opening it up, loosening the rules so the players could show their athleticism. Up until that point, the NBA was the same product as college basketball, high school basketball, church league
yeah,
basketball, kids league basketball. It was the highest form of the exact same creation. Then they started changing all the NBA rules. And now, 40, 50 years later, well, 40, I guess, 44, now the NBA has morphed into a completely homogenized and what I consider to be a parody of itself. Basically, it's life imitating art. Back in the 80s, they started making these changes to the game, and that's when video games came out. In
right,
television basketball, with the little computer guys going, and it did have a very good dribble sound on that game, though. But now the actual NBA looks like the video games
right.
of 40 years ago.
I
It's a different thing.
Go Fly says kill the 3-point shot.
Yes.
The one thing, and I generally agree with that. At least to how it's used nowadays. Because even when I play pickup games, I'm still, I'm probably should stop soon. I got hurt a little while ago, and it took a
Oh,
while to
you
get
did?
better. Yeah, I've rolled my ankle, and then I haven't tried to. And I think I got a sports hernia, which, I mean, that was months ago. I'm better now, but it was like my abdomen and that general area was not feeling good for a while. But
Right.
but yeah, like the kids nowadays, they just lean on the 3-point shot even in the pickup games. And when I was a kid, I played all ones for pickup basketball.
Right.
Now, I just thought of something.
Okay.
This just popped in my head. So maybe it's really stupid. I haven't even had a chance to pontificate on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they have these light up courts, right?
Oh yeah, I heard about them. Yeah.
That they showed off All-Star Weekend. Now that they have these courts, wouldn't it be great if they just did away with the 3-point line until the last 2 minutes of each half? And then, boom, 3-point line comes onto the light up court and it's there and you can use it.
That'd be cool. Yeah, just to make it more of a show.
Yeah. But take the ridiculousness of teams shooting 43 pointers a game out of it.
Yeah.
Right. I see what you're saying.
I don't think they would go that direction, but I could see them doing that with a 4-point shot.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll.
Before that even got out of your mouth, that's what I knew you was going to say, and I thought of it. It's like, yeah, I know where this is going.
Yeah,
Yep.
That would be good, Dart.
Yeah, in respect to that idea, I doubt they'll regress from the 3-point shot because it sells too much. But that might be a way to integrate and make it fun to have this 4-point giant, scoring opportunity with X amount of time left. I could see that happening in the future.
Now,
Mike-
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, Michael asks if you like baseball, Rex.
Love it. My sons love it.
Hey, Rex, I agree with you on the 70s basketball. Now, of course, in 1969, I was only 11 years old then, but, that's when I really got into basketball, really into it at that time. Because, my parents, all they cared about was books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Well, I was 3.
Otherwise, I got the belt. You know what I mean? Otherwise, other than that, I got the belt. If I didn't study, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but, I have to agree with you because I went to all those games watching Dr. J and Bobby Jones and David Thompson. All those players really just got me even more excited, more into it. You know what I mean? And,
well, that's something that comes with this finals that we're talking about. It's the first NBA finals after the merger, and both of these teams were
right.
so hugely impacted. The only major player, well, no, you can say Collins was a major player, but the only 2 major players in this final that did not play in the ABA were Walton and Collins.
Right.
Every other main threat on both teams were ABA veterans. In fact, there were only 3 guys in this entire series on both teams that were 30 years old or older, and they were all bench players. These were 2 of the youngest teams, and this really looked like it was going to be a matchup of the future. But obviously, Walton's injuries put paid to that idea.
That's true. That's true. Hey, Rex, when did Andrew Toney join the Sixers?
I believe it was 82, wasn't it? I'd have
82?
to look that up. 81 or 82.
I totally forgot.
I believe it was 81 or 82. He came in, made a huge splash. The matchups problem that he created, because the thing with Toney was he had that pop jumper, a lot like Gus. He had that,
right.
that 15 to 19-foot pop jumper, but he was also a very quick dribble, not Michael Jordan quick first step, but close to that, like an Earl Monroe first step or a Jerry West first step.
Right.
But you couldn't double team him because at small forward you had Doc. So the same guy that you would use to double team your shooting guard, well, he's covering Dr. J.
Right.
So that really created a mismatch on the perimeter that really hurt Boston. And I believe that's actually the reason why Boston got rid of Gerald Henderson. It was a VCU guy.
Yes.
Commonwealth, so I didn't, I didn't like that. But I believe that isn't it. In fact, I remember Red Auerbach saying it once, that the entire reason for the Gerald Henderson trade and getting Dennis Johnson in there was entirely because of Andrew Toney.
Right. Hey, Dart.
Yeah.
I wish you could have seen this guy, Dart. I'm talking about Andrew Toney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have loved.
I know who he is, but in respect to, obviously I'm too young for that. I'm 36, so yeah.
I wish you could have seen this guy, Dart. He was strong too. Yeah. That's the thing about him. He was strong. When he got to the hoop, people were bouncing off of him.
Yeah.
Right, Rex?
Yeah.
But people were bouncing off of him.
Yep.
He was strong. Sorry to interrupt you guys. Go ahead.
Oh no. You guys want to watch the game? We get. Yeah. I think Rex. Because we were talking about it after the show a little bit to stop. I think we should just play it through and just chat. And when we see something, if we want to stop it. Otherwise, just keep it rolling.
Yep. Now, while you started, let me give a little background here. Now, this finals both teams, Philadelphia finished the season with 50 wins, and the Blazers finished with 49. The Blazers were a very streaky team. Okay, they went 5 for 17 in games without Bill Walton that year. Bill Walton led the league in, I guess, in the analytics, they call it like maybe win shares or something. I'm not sure, but in the entire league, he won 2/3 of the games he played in, which led the league.
Right.
The big thing with them was they won the last 5 games of the season to get into the playoffs. And then they beat Chicago 2-1, had a tough second round against Denver. That was a long series, but then they surprised the number 1 overall Lakers, who were the number 1 seed, and swept them, going into the finals against the Sixers. But then started off the finals losing both games in Philadelphia. So this is a streaky team that all season long would go on streaks, one way or the other, win streak or lose streak.
Oh, okay.
And then they're coming back home. But they went 10-0 in the playoffs at home. All right. So they ran 4 straight. This is game 6. This is the final game. They were down 2-0. Came all the way back, won 3 straight to go up 1. So the pressure is really on Philly here. And you'll be able to see early in the game the pressure on Doc. You'll be able to watch Doc's play, and you'll be able to see he's feeling the pressure. The whole team is feeling the pressure. But this was the perfect matchup. It's reminiscent of the 69 finals, where it was the first super team with the Lakers, with West, Baylor, and Wilt, going against the old Boston Celtics with Bill Russell. Russell Celtics, his final year, him and Sam Jones, and they were the last team in the playoffs. But in the end, the perfect team beat the super team. We're dealing with the second time in history of that happening, where you have Portland, which is the perfect team. That's what their coach always preached, was team. And then obviously Walton coming from UCLA. Then the 76ers were a collection of great one-on-one players. With their idea, their strategy was with 3 20-point-a-game scorers, only 2 of them have to be on any night, and they're the better team on the court, was the idea. They played a lot of isolation play. Even back in the 70s, you'll see a lot of isolation, a lot of run and gun on the 76ers side. On the Blazers side, you're going to see a lot of ball movement, a lot of diagonal passes, a lot of cuts. So and basically this is the same thing as what you could also say the Miami Heat and San Antonio Spurs in 13 and 14 were the same type of matchup.
Okay.
Are we ready to start it, or?
It is game 6, Philadelphia against Portland. On your screen, Irving, McGinnis, Jones, Collins, and Bibby matched against Gross, Lucas, Walton.
It's pretty similar for the team that they had in the 1980 finals as well, the 76ers. Your starters.
Yes. But you got to realize how young Dawkins is here, though. Remember, Dawkins came out of high school.
Right.
So everyone else on the court played at least 3 years of college ball. He is the
Hey,
only
Rex,
one.
that's Henry Bibby?
Yes.
Here it is, the
Okay.
76ers, so the Blazers come with control. McGinnis is down.
Now McGinnis is the leading scorer.
A second violation.
Rex, I love Doug Collins' game.
Sixers will come down.
Yeah, Doug Collins. Well, he really had history. Really did him wrong. He was the hero of the 1972 Olympics until the refs took the game from us and gave it to the Soviets. He actually hit what would have been the game-winning free throws with 3 seconds on the clock to win 50-49. And then goes into the NBA and is a 20-point-a-game scorer. But then they go and get McGinnis and then Dr. J, which pushes him from being the main guy to being a third wheel.
Right.
History really did Collins wrong.
Wasn't he the? If I'm not mistaken, he was the #1 overall pick, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Out of, I believe it was Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
Now there's LeBron James version 1.0 right there.
You said George McGinnis.
George McGinnis, same size as LeBron. He handled the ball, all-around player, scored a whole lot, but he also committed an insane amount of turnovers. Most turnovers ever in a season was by McGinnis.
Yeah, looking at that play, I can see why.
Yeah.
Dart, he was a turnover machine.
Yep. But when he got rolling, he was just more physical than everyone else.
Yeah.
He was bigger, stronger, faster. The whole everything that you hear about LeBron, that's what McGinnis was for a brief time. There you go. See that? That's what he was for a brief time. Then injuries came early.
Yeah.
And he had a very quick descendancy, I guess you'd say.
That's true.
Now, if you look,
That was a good swat.
Lucas may have had a legitimate complaint. Couldn't really see for sure.
now Caldwell Jones is in there for the Sixers. Caldwell Jones led the ABA in blocks 2 years in a row and was an all-star in the ABA before coming to the Sixers. They have 3 Caldwell Jones. Who else? Lionel Hollins. Maurice Lucas, Dave Twarzik. You should know Dave Twarzik. He played for the Squires for 4 years. But all these guys were stars in the ABA that came over. So these teams are the new breed, so to speak. These were teams that, in fact, this is Portland's first ever trip to the playoffs.
Real fast, Go Fly is it's kind of a statement, but talking to you, Rex, he says, I think that the comment you made a few weeks back about the college experience really has an impact on how the greatness of a player can be. They should return that as a requirement. Now they're paid in the NCAA.
Well, it would be better if they did, but I think it's one of those things that's just it had its time and it's been taken away, and it's one of those things you can't go back on.
Rex, I wanted to say something real fast because Michael says Walton could have been the new Russell.
Yes.
You brought up a 1.0 version. I think he was Jokic 1.0.
Blazers lead them right now, Rick, 8-6.
Yeah, but Jokic didn't play defense. He doesn't play defense, Dart.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Offensively, yes. Walton was. Bill Russell was his hero.
Yeah.
He loved Bill Russell. He knew Wilt Chamberlain. Obviously, knew Kareem. He never played against Wilt, ever. Not even in a pickup game. They played volleyball against each other. Never played a game of basketball against each other.
McGinnis back with pressure.
Yeah.
Jones took only one shot in game 5.
Bill Walton really, even though Kareem gets all the accolades and all of the glory, but Walton really fundamentally was every bit as good as Kareem.
Yeah.
And was as big. He's always been listed since his freshman year at UCLA. He's always been listed as 6'11". His son outright says that when he was a kid, they measured him when he was asleep, and he was 7.5. But he never wanted to be categorized as a 7-footer. So he always insisted that he be listed at 6'11". But if you look in the Boston Celtics team photograph from the 85-86 season, he is measurably taller than Robert Parrish, who we know is 7 foot.
Yeah.
Right. Only thing Kareem had over him was that skyhook.
Yeah, I mean, Walton was, it was said about Bill Walton by his college coach, John Wooden, that Bill Walton is the perfect basketball player. That when healthy, he is the perfect basketball player. You know, he always kept the ball up high. He always made the simple play. And what LeBron always brags about always making the right play, Bill Walton famously always made the right play. He would have physical errors, right? He would have physical errors where you just, you know, there's sweat on the ball, that type of thing. You get your feet tangled up, whatever. But he never made mental errors.
Right. His IQ was high as shit.
Well, I mean, that's why Bird loved him so much, was because he was the only one that could actually look at a basketball game materializing in front of him on the court and understand everything that Bird understood.
Yeah.
Bird said this before, that he had someone that he thought was on his level when it came to thinking the game.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and yeah, I can see that with the Jokic with the defense, but so he may not be as physical on defense, but you know, and not to say that I completely understand what's going on with all of what he does, but he's known for being a defensive leader as well. He'll call out plays because he is such an offensive genius. He's able to go and he is, you know, doing it physically as well. Not to say that he's not playing defense. What I'm getting at is that they've shown clips where he's calling out offensive plays that they're doing against
I'm not saying
Denver.
that he doesn't have the IQ.
Yeah.
He plays defense differently than what Walton did. Walton was a shot blocker.
Yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing. I was just saying that in respect to a lot of people will say that he doesn't play defense or can't play defense. He's just not. He's leading the team.
Yeah, the defensive style is different, is what I meant.
Yeah.
That they don't play defense alike. Their offensive game is very similar. You could see Walton playing, and really Portland. It's really Walton's fault why Portland drafted Sam Bowie over Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have the conspiracy theory, yes, and .com, Arvydas Sabonis. I was going to mention him next. The reason they drafted Bowie was because at Kentucky, Bowie got the reputation. He actually got the reputation in high school. He got the reputation of being the next Bill Walton.
Right.
And unfortunately for Portland, he did end up being literally the next Bill Walton and constantly had foot issues. But people forget, Sam Bowie was invited to the 1980 Olympic trials as a high schooler. Okay? He was on the 1980 Olympic team that didn't get a chance to play. He was on that team, and he wasn't even in college yet.
Real fast. Because Go-Go Fly has said this, and I'm not familiar with this term. If either of you gentlemen can educate me on this, bring back the fro. What is the
Afro?
The afro. Okay.
Dr. J's.
All right.
Yeah,
I
he's
thought
talking about the afro. Yeah.
my bad. I thought you were talking about the game Go-Go Fly. I could tell. I could tell by your haircut on your profile picture that, like myself, talking about hair. But outside of that, yeah, I thought you might have been talking about.
Yeah, he's talking about hair.
Follically challenged.
Yeah, hair follically challenged. And then he also asked, "Can you help me out? This game has rules that are different than today. Can you name a few?"
Yeah, there's defensive rules that are different. The big thing, obviously,
nice.
when you see the strategies, is there's no three-point line. So both teams are trying to get the closest open shot. And that's a strategy that is gone from the game today. Which I don't understand why they've legislated defense out of the game, because the offense has already legislated out half the court. If you're trying to get a layup, and if you can't get a layup, then you go for a three, you're literally eliminating half of the square footage of the offensive end of the court. Back in this day, you're trying to attack the basket every possession. You're going into the big man every time. You're trying to get into the paint. If you can't get into the paint, then you're taking the best open, like right here, the best open shot, the closest to the basket, because common sense says the closer you are, the higher percentage. If it's open.
Yeah.
Today, guys like Kobe Bryant, those type of guys, even Michael Jordan, with the double and triple pumps, driving into a crowded lane, really, that's great for them because they have the ability to do it. But what you did then is you're teaching kids to mimic that play, and 1 out of 10,000 kids have that ability. The other 9,999 are not learning how to play basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. You watch these teams, especially Portland, the average, look at that.
Oh.
That is just, wow.
That was nasty.
That is just,
That was nice.
That was just vicious.
Well,
Yeah.
if you see it in slow motion, he actually does more with the ball than you see. He goes with the ball, and he's got it palmed. He's bringing it up. Gross actually gets higher than Dr. J thought he was going to get, but Dr. J just went higher. He actually jumped.
Yeah. Right, Doc. I mean,
Like-
right, Brett.
He settles
Yep.
for a second, and then you see him go higher, which is insane. There's young Daryl Dawkins. He's still a
Hey,
teenager
Rex.
at this point, I believe. He
Hey,
might be
Rex.
20.
Hey, Rex, listen to this. Sometimes Dr. J would just move the ball.
Yeah.
While he's ready to dunk it, he would just move it.
Now, the
Until
difference with Dr. J
so you couldn't block it.
style-wise is Dr. J would have a stiff body when he jumped. Like most people, he still looks graceful. Don't get me wrong. He's very, very graceful. Huge hands. But most people, when they jump, while they're in the air, they're rather stiff. You're elongated, you got the stretched out, and your legs kind of hang below your hips, so to speak, while you're going through the air. The thing that was different with Jordan when he came along was he was agile in the air.
That was a crazy pass.
Yeah, it was.
That's what that's what they're working for, is that play there. The diagonal pass.
Yeah.
Watch this.
About 12 feet from the basket, looking him right up and over Gross.
You see how he actually goes over it.
Yeah, he definitely adjusted. To bring it back a little bit, did y'all see that hook shot that Walton did a little while back?
Yeah, he
I saw.
knew it. He had the shot in his repertoire, but he didn't use it exclusively.
Yeah.
He had a jump shot to about 15 feet that was very consistent But he has said in an interview a long time ago, it was an old interview, that he didn't like shooting from the elbow, even though they did have that play in the repertoire. He didn't like shooting it because he felt that it took him out of rebound position, and he thought that was where he was more important to the team.
Right.
So he didn't like running that play, even though they did have it. He didn't like it when that play was called for him because he preferred to be the guy underneath and have Lucas shooting the elbow jumper.
One thing,
Right.
one thing you said earlier, Rex, I found interesting is that the majority of these players were prior ABA players. I didn't know that. And
Yeah, the stars. All of
Yeah.
the stars. Well, not all. Walton and Collins were NBA only.
Yeah.
All the other stars in this game were previous ABA players.
Yeah.
Oh, now did you
Yeah,
see that?
but it's,
You back that up? This is something you don't see now.
What? You said you want me to bring it back?
If you can back it up to that missed layup. Now we don't have a full view of it, but after the missed layup, watch the collision.
I think it's after this play. Yeah.
Yeah. You see World Freeze in there now. Still Lloyd then. One of the greatest one-on-one playground players of all time.
Sure was.
Twardzik was muscling, trying to keep someone out.
It still doesn't hurt them, Brent. It was before the 2-minute mark, so it's only the second foul. Let's watch him now. There he is right there.
See the leaning? Look at the leaning.
On to Henry Bibby picking up the foul.
I think it's here.
Yeah, now watch. Now he looked behind him and it threw him off. Now watch the collision.
Yeah.
Did you see that shot he took with the elbow? You do that now, you're thrown out.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a foul call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a foul call. He literally stood there and elbowed the guy in the face, knocking him flat. No call. That's how it used to be. If you were, the way it was looked at, if the man setting the pick was set, then any contact was the other guy's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you get leveled with an elbow because you ran into him, that's fair game. That's fair play. That was the rules of the day.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Hey, Rick, let me ask you a question. Who do you think had the biggest hands between Dr. J, Kawhi, and Michael Jordan?
I believe they've measured this. It's at the Hall of Fame, I believe it is. They have basketballs with players' handprints on them. And Kawhi's are bigger.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then his fingers are longer than Wilt's, but Wilt's hand was wider.
.com says it doesn't seem like hoops to me. I'm not gonna lie.
What issue does he have? Tell us what issue you have.
Are you talking about the elbow?
The big reason why they're right in this basketball game.
And also, just remind everybody, if you'd like to call in, I've been dropping the link. You're welcome to call in, as long as it doesn't become a giant fight.
Now, watch McGinnis was not a great free throw shooter. Watch how close his feet are together. Could you all see that? He shot his free throws. His feet were always very close together, which does not give you good balance. And I never understood why a coach never tried to correct him on that, or maybe they did and he just wouldn't listen. I don't know.
Right. Right.
Collins goes across to Maurice Lucas. Mixes there.
They should hold it for the last shot, Brent. 3-second violation.
That is the third 3-second
And this is
violation.
Rick Barry doing the play-by-play, by the way. He was still an active player at this time. That coach they just showed, Gene Shue. He is the first NBA player to do the spin move.
Oh, cool.
He quote unquote invented the spin move. He of course didn't invent it, but he was the first one to do it in an NBA game and it not be called traveling.
Nice.
Hey, Dart.
Yes.
I was looking at Gus's team pictures when he's with the Warrior,
Uh-huh.
right? And Rick Barry was sitting there, you know, in the picture by himself.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I wonder why he was sitting by himself. And then I used to remember what Gus used to tell me, that he was such a nasty SOB,
Yeah.
you know?
You said it was mean, or
Nasty SOB. Huh?
it was just mean, or was
Yeah,
he?
just mean. Nasty, mean.
He was arrogant,
Always thought he was
condescending.
the
He's
boss.
he was everything that I try to be.
Yeah.
Always thought he was the boss, you know?
Mhm.
But
Yep.
he also is like the head of the greatest NBA family, though.
Yeah, arguably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've had more NBA players in that family than any other.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is his wife would have been able to play in the WNBA had the WNBA been around at the time. She was a great basketball player.
Yeah.
Right.
But I believe 5 of his sons played in the NBA.
I think Brent is probably the most famous one.
Yeah, well, you had Scooter first. He won the national championship at Kansas with
Mhm.
Danny Manning. You had Scooter, John, then Brent, right? Brent was third.
I thought Brent was the youngest.
No, the youngest. No, he from his second marriage, he has a son that is in their 20s now. Is the youngest, and I think he never played in the NBA, but I think he actually did. He was in the G League, I believe, at one point, but I believe he plays overseas.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I think Go-Go Fly is sharing people's hand size. I guess I'm guessing length by width.
There's the play again right there. He puts it on the floor. There's no walk.
Well, something that my high school coach showed me, taught me. I was a point guard. I'm a small guy, and I couldn't palm the basketball when I was like a freshman, sophomore. And he showed me that you can't do anything about the length of your fingers, but squeeze a racquetball to strengthen your fingers. But what you can do as a nervous habit is actually take your one hand, put it between the fingers of the other hand, and stretch the ligaments
Yeah.
between your fingers, and you actually make the spread between your pinky. Now, my pinky's deformed because I broke it playing basketball. But he actually would do his hand spread, and it was a straight line from his thumb going across to his pinky. And he could palm a ball like it was nothing. But his fingers were like almost as short as mine.
So I can palm a
For
ball.
you young players, do that as a nervous habit. Just whenever you're sitting around watching TV or whatever, stretch the ligaments between your fingers, and it increases the width of your hand for better ball control.
Yeah, for my left hand, it's weird. It just how my fingers, like my ring finger, will not extend like the live long and prosper. I can't do that with this hand. Like I can't do it. I can palm a ball with my right hand, and my left I can't stretch my hand out because it just doesn't work that way.
Well, I got arthritis in my hands now, but I got to the point where I can palm a ball with either hand.
Here he comes.
Yeah.
Yes, .com. That back then that was an offensive foul.
what this team has accomplished this year. Neal coming in. Dawkins right with
It's
him. Off
you
comes
see the
McGinnis.
people don't understand what a foul is.
Bibby on the
And that's the thing.
Hey, Doug, I'm back.
One of the greatest
Maybe
Here he comes.
things that my coach did for me
Same time, a timeout
was
called here.
we all had to get our
I
reffing license
get a chance to remind you.
as
Slam
players
Dunk Finals live at halftime. The
and
final
ref
line,
Little
the
League
Kimber
games,
Open right after this game.
so we could learn the rules better.
Larry
And people,
Weinberg, the
most
boss
fans
of
don't even
the
understand what a
Trailblazers, just
foul
off the mile left,
is.
enjoying the
Like,
action. His
why can
counterpart,
you,
Vince Dixon, not here. It's his
if you
25th
barely
wedding
touch
anniversary.
someone's
So congratulations
shooting
to Mr. and
hand,
Mrs. Dixon. Walton goes
it-
down to Lucas, who is left
it's a
alone.
foul.
McGinnis wasn't out,
But
makes
then
the
in
shot.
the low
Inside
post,
Hollins, when the loose
guys
ball,
will
he
sit
came
there and
out.
elbow push, shove, and shoulder each other all game long, use their hip, and it's not a foul. The definition of a foul, originally, not now, originally, was gaining an unfair advantage through physical contact. So when you got two 6'11", 260-pound centers slamming into each other in the low post, trying to get position, as long as neither one gains an unfair advantage through that contact, there's no foul. Now, if one guy slams into the other, and he moves him off the spot, and then he receives the ball and scores a wide open layup, then they blow the whistle. It's like you gained an unfair advantage with that hard shove. But as long as both guys are holding their positions, and this is why the hand checking got out of control. You're allowed to hand check because you were touching the man, you were pushing him, but you weren't pushing him off the ball, off balance. You were slowing him, but you weren't gaining an unfair advantage.
Dawkins goes with Walton.
Once you push a man off balance, now you've gained an unfair advantage through that physical act. That is now a foul. Most fans don't understand the definition of a foul.
Real fast, go fly. You said that they should bring back the afro. I don't know which coach it was, but I saw them wearing leopard pants. Did they bring back the leopard pants?
That was a Wilt thing. Wilt did that back in the day.
Leopard.
Yeah, he had leopard skin pants. Yep. Look at this.
That was a good block.
Good block.
How fundamental was that? Did you notice he did not jump until Dr. J jumped?
Yeah.
He waited. He let Dr. J come to him like a Venus flytrap. He let the prey come to him and then raised straight up. He did not swing his arm. He didn't knock it out of bounds, giving it right back to the Sixers. He just stuck his hand straight up, swatted it out to where his own player could grab it and start to break the other direction. Learn that from Bill Russell.
Look at that quickness on Johnny Davis.
The one thing I love about the hook shot is that if you do it right and you're able to use your offhand to help stop the defense, even if you can't do a sky hook, it's so much harder to stop that shot versus a regular jump shot. I just can't. What I'm getting at with there is I just can't believe people don't use that shot anymore. It's such a good shot.
Yeah. The last points I ever scored in my basketball career was a sky hook.
Oh, yeah?
I was playing in a men's league in San Antonio, Texas,
Excellent defense by Steve.
and I was, I think, about 40, 41, 42, something like that. And I was one basket away from a triple-double. And I just said jokingly to the guy that ran the gym, because we were the last game of the night, and he was ready for us to go home. A couple games had gone to overtime, so we were way behind schedule. And they put me back in the game to score one more basket to get a triple-double. And I told the guy, I'm like, I'm going to get it on a sky hook. So I got down low, and I got the ball, and I mean, it's literally as textbook. I mean, if any of the other team had been paying attention to our conversation, they would have blocked it all the way to half court. Because I literally just took it, power dribble, turned to the right, did the sky hook from about 8 feet, made it, and actually I finished out the game. I played the last minute or so of the game, and that was the last game I ever played in.
Oh yeah.
Real fast, go fly. He said, "Look at the players in this game. They're racehorses, not bulls in a china shop." That's for me, and I don't claim to be an expert on how the game is played, but I think the best strategy or offense in general, offensive strategy, is the fast break offense.
Well, what you just said, that last play, that goes with what you just said, literally. That fast break, watch this. Watch the little shift of his hips to make the defender turn.
Yep. And when
He was charging like he was going to go to the right-hand layup, like he was going to go diagonal across the lane to his strong hand, and he turned his hip and got the defender running sideways, which makes him in a position where he can't jump. These are the little things that pros know how to do. It's something I always tell my sons: learn to control your body. That's the key to every sport, is learning to control your body.
And this stuff is like textbook.
Well, that's why I love the 70s. It was the elite level of the game we're taught as kids.
Right.
Now, the game that they play in the NBA cannot be played by 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. This can.
Yeah. And then .com brought up the skyhook, that every big should have a skyhook in their repertoire. I know that you brought up why they don't use particularly the skyhook, Rex, on other channels. You want to bring up why you believe they don't use the skyhook anymore?
The reason they don't use the skyhook is because the defensive rules are different, and the length of the perimeter players now and the athletic ability. The skyhook is a slow shot. Okay, it is a very difficult shot. It's the only shot. Look at how high he got. You see that hang?
Yeah.
But the problem with skyhook is it's the only shot that you release from above and behind your head. So the ball is not in your vision when you're shooting it. And also, since it's above and behind your head, you cannot protect it from a perimeter player coming to double team you on the shot. If you understand what I'm saying. You're pivoting. You have to pivot one direction. So say you're shooting a right-handed skyhook going to your right. You're going to box off the man. Kareem would always take a dribble, and on that dribble, he'd shuffle his feet in to lock the hip of the defender. And then he'd roll off of the defender's hip and rise up. But as you're rising, you're looking at the basket. The ball is behind you and above you. With the speed and athleticism of perimeter players today, coupled with their length, you can't hold the ball out like that in the modern game. It's going to get knocked out.
Right.
He's on the weak side. Is Collins trying to get something going?
You saw he blocked that, Rex?
Now, that wasn't a shot. He was trying to dump it down low on the cut. But that's what Walton did. Walton understood the game, not only what his team was trying to do, but he understood what you were trying to do and how to lessen your, like, this is a perfect example of when you see players play defense. And you always hear when people are arguing who's a better defender, they start listing blocks per game and steals per game. Well, that's, if you play perfect defense, you get neither. So it doesn't tell you who. If you look at Dennis Rodman, Dennis Johnson, Michael Cooper, the best defenders of their generations, none of them averaged over a block, or Joe Dumars. None of them averaged a lot of steals or blocks.
Right.
Because the most important thing is ball denial. If your man doesn't have the ball, he cannot score. Okay? The way you make it easier, say me and Dart, we're covering two players, two great players, right?
Yeah.
And you are covering Michael Jordan, right? The way we help you, the average fan will say, well, the help defense means double team. No, it doesn't. That's one form. That's the last ditch effort of help defense. Proper help defense is me playing great ball denial on my man, Dart playing great ball denial on his man. Now you can focus on guarding Jordan, and you don't have to play the pass.
Yeah.
You know he's taking the shot because we're playing great ball denial, and he has no one to pass to. Now that limits his offensive possibilities, which makes it easier for you to defend him. That's team basketball. That's something that Walton did. That's something that Russell did better than anyone ever, that fans don't understand, is they made their teammates' job so much easier that they became more successful.
McGinnis outside. Davis off.
And it's something nowadays they think if you don't pick the pocket of the guy you're playing, well, you're not playing great defense unless you take it from him.
Right.
Your job isn't to take it from him. Your job is to get the ball one of the 5 players on the court on your team. Doesn't mean you have to do it. It means someone on your team has to come up with a steal or a rebound or force a turnover where you get an inbounds. That's what you're trying to do.
I got a question for Pierre. This is not related to this game specifically, but I've never asked this question. Do you think Gus should have won the Finals MVP over DJ?
I always did. I always thought it was obvious. I don't know about Pierre.
Well, I always had in mind he should have got that what was it, the 1982 All-Star Game MVP.
Yeah.
He should have won that. You know, the Finals MVP, I don't know, it's such a political thing, you know. That's what makes me so angry about it. You know, there's no way in hell, I'm just bringing this up as a side note, but there's no way in hell Iguodala should have got that over Curry. You know, and that's
it's all about a lot of matchups in a lot of cases, like, you know, when Cornbread got it over Bird.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Yeah.
You know, that was actually a determined thing. That was something that Stern was big on. He did it in '80 with Magic. They insisted that they decided that there was going to be a trophy presentation. They had never had, since they started the Finals MVP in '69, the player that won it was in the final game. So the presentation was always done at center court immediately after the game. And in '80, the vote came back that Kareem was the Finals MVP, but he was back in LA with a sprained ankle. He didn't make the trip.
Yeah.
So Stern said, no, you're going to vote again. We're going to have a trophy presentation. So it obviously went to Magic. Then in '81, Bird had a couple bad shooting games when all the commentators were talking about was his scoring.
Yeah.
And every time they bring up his scoring ability, he was missing shots. But he was grabbing 21 rebounds in one game. Look at that's one of the best dunks in NBA history.
That was serious.
He was all up in
Oh my God.
Watch
Rex.
this. Watch
bring it.
this.
That was awesome, Rex.
Gross takes a shot at him. Walton goes up. Just look at this. Walton was complaining about his left hand. As you see, he hit him in the head with the ball. But there was contact anyway. Here
I was going to replay it, but they were playing it for me.
There he goes. Takes off.
That was a monster dunk.
Oh my God. Just vicious.
That was my all-time favorite dunk until Dominique and Jordan came around.
That was just awesome.
Dunk was my favorite in the NBA. It's not my all-time favorite dunk.
Hey, Dart.
Yeah.
Dart. Now, just to answer your question, here's my honest assessment of it. At the time when it happened, I wasn't upset because I really like DJ so much, you know?
Yeah.
But when I think about it now, yeah, Gus should have won it. You know, now I'm being biased because he should have won. But back at the time when the game was played, I wasn't upset because DJ won it and I was happy still, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
I think if they had all achieved if the exact same series was played today, he would have won it. Because so much emphasis is put on points, and he averaged, I think it was like 28.3.
Yeah, 28.
DJ averaged like 22. He just had more assists and rebounds.
Well, it wasn't just that, though. DJ played awesome defense on the Washington backcourt and limited the Bullets' main scorers.
He did.
Yeah, no, I was just bringing up for statistically. You were talking about points. I was talking the other stats in respect to, how they could have approached it that way. Yeah.
And Iguodala was the same way. It was just, you see, a lot. This is another thing that fans need to understand. Coaches at the elite level, NBA level, the top levels around the world, they really don't care how impressive your individual skills are.
They talk about all the money that
Okay?
is, but if anybody
That's
in this
something
game
for fans.
earns,
Kyrie's dribbling, his coaches don't care. They don't care. All right? If a guy can make, like Gilbert Arenas, there's a video of him making 79 out of 100 one-handed three-point shots. The coach doesn't care. Okay? The coach cares about who can make plays. That's what decides games. Okay? Michael Jordan did not have the ball every single moment of an NBA game. Dr. J, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, they did not have it's not one-on-one. Okay? You don't have the ball more than you have the ball. What coaches want are players that make plays.
One got fouled.
And Iguodala was one of those guys that his entire career makes plays. He can play 20 minutes a game. He can play 33 minutes a game. He'll make the same amount of plays. And when you have a player like that, it frees up, it makes your lineups so versatile. What the coach can then do. And fans don't understand that. They just look at it like they just look at stats and compare stats.
Right,
And
right.
that's not how it works.
I don't want to mention a certain somebody who's critiqued, and again, I don't ever claim that I'm a basketball expert. I'm a fan through and through. I appreciate the history of the game and everything. There's a certain somebody who has critiqued my basketball knowledge, and all I've ever heard him do is just read off stat lines. And it's, you know what I mean? It's like,
Well, you can say the name, Dart.
No, we won't.
yeah.
That is something that we decided a little while ago.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
If these
that.
people don't like it, they can blame me.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But yeah, well, that's the thing, and this is the thing that always drives me crazy. Why I wanted to do these types of shows is to try and educate fans to what to look at and what to look for to actually learn the game. Now, obviously, the best way to learn the game is to shut off your phone, lace them up, and go get on the court. Play all the time, every time. Play on every kind of court with every kind of player. Play with players better than you, where you're the fifth best guy on the team. Play on teams where it's all scrubs and then only you. Play with younger kids and try teaching them some fundamentals. Play with older guys from the generation before you. Learn their tricks. Talk to coaches. Watch games, but when you watch a game, don't watch the ball. Watch everything that happens away from the ball. You will learn more about this game in 1 year than you've learned your entire life.
Yeah.
If you do these things.
Yeah.
Hey, Dart, remember how you were talking about when you just got through playing?
Yeah.
The last time I picked up a basketball, Dart, was in 98.
Oh, that's a while
In
ago.
NYU gym, full court, because I always played full court
Yeah.
most of the time. And I went out with a blaze of glory, Dart, before I hurt my knee. 10 jumpers in a row.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
hit.
Yeah.
Went out with a blaze of glory. But after that game, I didn't stretch, right, Rex? And effed up my knee.
Yeah.
You gotta stretch after you play. I didn't stretch and messed up my knee. And after that, I had to stop playing. I had bursitis. Bursitis in the knee, yeah.
I believe they have a slam dunk contest in the middle of this game.
Yep.
But yeah, Pierre. That's cool though. I want to keep playing, but the thing is it's kind of the similar situation. I didn't stretch. I didn't warm up right. So when I got that sports area, there was a wedgie, if you know what I mean. It was stuck. The ball was stuck in the rim in the backboard. So I jumped up to get it because I was, I probably should have just told one of the kids to do it, but I didn't. And I went and I grabbed it, or I knocked it out, but I hadn't stretched at all, and I was cold, and I just did it, and it took a while. It took a couple months to feel all right, and I just started feeling all right with it. But and then when I rolled my ankle, before then I was sprinting because like I was talking about the fast break offense. If you can outrun people, you're already that's half the game right there. If
That's
you can
the best way to
out-hustle
get
them.
an open shot.
Exactly. And so I would do that, but I rolled my ankle, and then Go-Go Fly said, "Did you say old or cold?" I don't feel old.
I'm old and cold.
I was cold. I sadly am, versus some of the kids I play, I'm still more athletic than them, which is a shame in my opinion. But and I'm not old. I'm in my mid to late 30s, but
Right.
you know what I mean. But I'm getting to that point where I'm supposed to be slowing down. So, but yeah, but it's a shame just playing these kids, and it's like, dude, y'all should be running circles around me, but what I'm getting at is I haven't been sprinting lately because I rolled my ankle. I'm worried, and it doesn't hurt anymore, but I think I'm just starting to get cautious because it just didn't get right fast enough.
Right.
My body's changing, I guess. But
Well, the most important date in basketball history, December 17th, 1999.
was that for you, or you said history?
In history.
Why is that? I'm not even gonna guess. I can't
That's
guess.
the last
but I'm
time I
very
dunked
fun.
basketball.
Oh, okay.
The Olds Athletic Club on Carolina Beach Road. Or no. on 17.
Darnell is now
On 17 in Wilmington, North Carolina.
He's shooting a
So I
30.
haven't dunked this millennium.
All 5 of his attempts.
I was playing basketball with my buddy, who's bigger than me, and he can still dunk. He's a couple years older than me. He's almost 40. And I back in, you know, even a couple of years ago, but I hadn't played in a while, but I could do basic dunks even a couple of years ago. And I'm sure if I just tried a little bit, I could get back into it. But doing it cold, not doing it for a couple of years, I missed a dunk. And I was scared to keep trying to dunk because I didn't want to get another sports hernia because it freaking was a giant pain in my butt.
Double clutch. Darnell
But
Hillman.
he did
You
it.
see, that was the big change in my career. Was I was a high jumper growing up,
All right, let's see what the judges
and
score on Darnell Hillman.
I
Game
was
5.
seen by the basketball coach jumping straight up, dunking a volleyball into one of the baskets in the school gym, and I was 5'7" at the time, and he just freaked out. So that was the beginning of them pushing me, you know, to learn basketball and to play basketball.
Washington, among others.
Um,
Moses Malone, congratulations.
Thank you, Don. I'd just like to say thank you to my family for standing behind me
That-
and helping me get through this
This
little
kills
ordeal.
me.
I had a little work to do, and I went out and
But
did it.
the
I'm happy about it.
You got some money
it
coming
was
in the mail.
when
Congratulations.
I used to win dunk contests on the playground. There was a gym that opened in Prince William County, Virginia, called the
That was
Tin
a-
Center.
That was a good dunk.
Yeah, that had a dunk contest and a three-point shootout every month. And I was for a few months I was always winning them. But then I had an injury, and I stopped trying to dunk, trying to jump, trying to rely on my athletic ability, and I just started trying to read the game more, is what they
Yeah.
called it back then. And I went from being just a bench high school player
knows a little bit about give and
to
go right there. Bobby
going overseas in
Steve Mix right out of the way. And back again.
less than 2 years.
Coming down the same
Just
way.
under,
You
well,
think
just say
Philadelphia
2
learned
years.
As they leave that middle open time and time again.
You-
Again,
Yeah.
a live play into Walton.
It's
He backs
it
out,
was
a great live,
all
he
the
looks
time
over
that
for
I
a
was
little help, and he
spending
gets it. And last
trying
again,
to
Irving with an
perfect
open-faced
dunks
up
to
right
look
over there.
impressive,
Happy to see him come out of
you
this
know,
except the Portland
because
fans.
I
As
was
we take a
short
look
and
at
could jump real
statistics,
high.
we can see that both
I
teams
stopped
moving the ball
doing
three
it, and I
points,
started
16
spending that
apiece. Look at those
time
rebounds right now.
working more on learning the
Offensive
game,
rebounds.
ball
The Blazers have
handling,
been able to
free
get those
throws.
offensive rebounds because they've been able
You
to
know,
move the ball a little bit better.
Yeah.
Portland's gotten more
it
big
just
games than
totally
they have
changed
last. They're
everything.
going to have to shut Portland down by
Yeah.
being more aggressive offensively.
Hey, Dart,
We'll take a look at the scoring
What's up?
right now.
Dart,
As we pointed out,
I may get cut off
Irving
because
and McGinnis, 22,
my
16, the rest of them not really a
battery
big factor.
power is at
But on the
zero, just to let you know
Portland
that.
side of
You
the
guys know.
Let's take a look at that, Steve. What do we have?
You're good, Pierre. Yeah, if you cut out,
Collins is
it's
on
all
the
good.
top
But
with 14. Walton
I just
you
wanted to
want-
let you know.
Gross are right
No, I
behind
appreciate
with 12
you,
and
yeah.
13.
Can you pause
You know,
this?
again, this is what they've
Yeah,
had
give me-
all year long. They're gonna
there you
look
go.
Well, okay, can you back it up to where the numbers are? This is what I was speaking of before we started. If you look at the numbers here, okay, more efficient
Yeah.
team is the Blazers. Higher field goal percentage, higher free throw percentage. Look at the offensive rebounds. They've almost doubled the offensive rebounds. Same amount of assists, same amount of turnovers. So what this tells you is that they are a more efficient team, which leads you to believe if a team leads in field goal percentage and rebounding, you can assume that that is the more fundamental team. Okay? Now, if you go to the individual scoring, which comes up next,
by being more aggressive offensively and defensively.
We'll take a look at the scoring right now. As we pointed
now
out.
here, what did I say before the game? The Sixers' philosophy at this point in time was with three great scorers, 3 20-point-a-game scorers. To be on, they only need 2 of them, right?
Mhm.
Now, if you look, Irving with 22, McGinnis with 15. Doug Collins, the other 20-point-a-game scorer, only has 2 points.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's the issue with this style of play. Now, if you let it go and we get to Portland scoring.
2 men, Irving and McGinnis, 22-15. The rest of them not really a big factor. But on the Portland side of that scoreboard.
Look at that. You're at halftime, folks. We're at halftime. You have 4 players in double figures. 14,
Balance
13, 12,
scoring.
12. And then your next 2 guys together are double figures. This is at halftime. This is where the team is more consistent than the iso ball play. So when you see 2 teams playing iso ball, like in modern basketball, you're seeing an inferior product. Team-wise, not individual-wise, team-wise. You're seeing lesser team play.
Yep. No, I totally agree. I think the iso ball is just boring to watch. To me, it's a joke. These 2-man plays, the simplest of 2-man plays, and you know what I mean? Like it's almost like watching a pickup game, just with that are just 10 times better. There's no strategy, there's no plans, or seemingly, at least in a regular season games. I won't speak for playoff games, but the regular season games look like they're just really playing pickup basketball, and they work on a couple 2-man plays, and that's it.
Yeah. And Go Fly talking, probably none of them know how many points they've scored. That's something that one of my coaches always had us do, is every time out, end of the quarter, if you're taken out of the game, anytime you came back to the bench, you had to tell the coach the score of the game. He always drilled it in your head. The team score of the game. That's the only thing we're worried about. You had to tell him how many fouls you had, and you had to tell him what the score of the game was. And then with the guards, me being a point guard, I didn't have to know the numbers, but I always had, like, if I came out, I'd come out of the game, and I'd have to tell him I got 3 fouls, we're up 5.
Yeah.
Or I got 2 fouls, we're up 4, or we're down 2, whatever it is. You had to know. You had to be aware. Situational awareness was so important, because see, y'all got to understand, before David Stern, all the rules in basketball history were made to level the playing field, so that the best basketball player, the best basketball team won.
Of those 40 points, Brent, they had 10 layups.
Once you started opening up the rules, loosening them up to allow for athletic, like in this time, and I think I didn't say it because we were talking about something else, but in the first half, there was an over-the-back call.
Yeah.
Any of you know what an over-the-back call is? Because they don't have it anymore.
Yeah, when I was a kid, they still had it, or at least in the little league leagues I played in, they had it over the back calls.
Yeah, if you had defensive position, the man behind you could not jump over your back and take the ball away from you.
Yeah.
He could not rely on his athletic ability to take the rebound away from you. You got the credit for doing the box out, for applying the fundamental.
Yeah.
Now that's taken out of it, so you see guys jumping up and snatching the ball, which is more exciting for casual fans. It looks more impressive, but it's horrible technique for controlling the ball and controlling the possession.
Yep.
Walton and Lucas collide at the top. Rose finally comes around.
Go Fly, yes.
Hey, I'm back,
Coaches made changes in defensive game
Nice.
switched throughout the game, but you could do that. You got to understand, Go Fly, you could do that because all of these players right? Went to college. They all went to college. They all had 3 levels of training. They had high school, college, then into the pros. These guys weren't coming straight from a lower league overseas or straight from high school into the pros like we had for, what was it, 20 years? You know, it's different. These are more experienced players that understand. They had more practice time back then. It was in the contracts. Now in the CBA that it limits practice. You know, how much time they have to spend actually honing their craft with the team. So these guys understood all these different defenses, and you could call them out from the sideline, and it's something you had been practicing since training camp, and guys knew their roles in a 5-man defensive setup.
Not worry about how they would come out. That's how confident this franchise is today.
Yeah, the full court press has been taken out. I don't even know if a full court press is technically legal anymore.
I would think it is in the NBA. So not to go into where I grew up or anything like that, but I had a coach where I grew up, the high school coach. He got fired for whatever reason, and but he settled because they just didn't want him to coach anymore. But he would full court press at the start of every game just to set the tone. I thought it was hilarious that he would go and he would just put the pressure on other teams immediately, and he'd lean off a little bit and then play with it later. But he would full court press. Play one. You know what I mean?
Well, it was actually my nickname at one point. I was a one-man full court press.
Yeah.
I would when I came in a game, that's what I would do. Is I would chase the ball until the team got into their offense, and then I'd settle in on my player that I was assigned to cover. But I would start on ball the second I came in the game, and I would just chase the ball.
Yeah.
And I really annoyed people a lot doing that. In fact, my career averages, I had went back a long time ago, and I averaged 2 charges taken a game, but I also averaged getting punched once a game. It didn't faze me. Yeah. It didn't bother me. It was like, all right. Now I know I'm in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about, we briefly were talking about those other guys. Freaking, I could totally tell I was in their head. How they started talking after a while the other week.
Well, I had mentioned this to you. It's something that I learned early, and I can do it, but I don't even know exactly how to explain what I do it, but I can play someone, and whatever they're confident and good at doing, I can make them not do.
Yeah.
And it's just something I always had a knack for. Like you could sit there and watch a player hit just like 16 in a row from the right wing, like a 17-footer. And they just make them like money all day long. Then I would cover them, and they'd go 1 for 7 from their favorite spot. And it's just something I always had a knack for. Guys would always talk junk, constantly about how they would, like, the guys never understood how I was on a team.
Yeah.
Because I was the smallest, I was the lightest, I was the weakest, I was the least skilled amongst all of the good players on the team. Yet I always, when we would run scrimmages, whichever side I was on would always win.
Yeah.
And it was just something where guys would play great. I would get on them, and then they'd play like garbage. But I wouldn't be doing anything demonstrative. It's not like I'd be, taking the ball from them or swatting the ball out of bounds or doing anything demonstrative. I would just make them miss. I would just make them mess up. And that's how you play the game.
Yeah.
And that's what so many fans don't understand. And like Ogilvie is saying, camps don't teach these things. When they changed and gave all the power to the AAU, and coaches did this, because what coaches used to have to do, like Michael Jordan, for instance, he goes to college to play for Dean Smith. Dean Smith never watched him play in high school. The assistant coach, Roy Williams, is the one that came, I think, 3 times to watch Michael at Laney High School. He famously went to Jacksonville to watch an away game, Laney Buccaneers against Jacksonville Cardinals, where Michael Jordan set the record for that gym, which when I lived there like 15 years ago, it was still the record in the gym. I think it was 52 or 62 points. And Roy Williams was at that game. That's why Jordan went off, because he was being looked at. That's how it used to be done. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of oversight by the NCAA. What they decided to do was they empowered AAU, and all the coaches during the offseason, they didn't have to play this runaround. They could concentrate on coaching their teams. And then during the summer, all these coaches would go to the AAU championships and watch the best players. Thus, the AAU became show-off tournaments.
Yeah.
So, look at that.
Yeah, it was nice. That's one thing that kills me, is when people say, oh, these guys were plumbers, these guys couldn't play, they weren't athletic. You know what I mean? It's just so ignorant, and they're just listening to somebody say that to them, and they're not actually watching these games. And again, not to say that I'm an expert, but I'm not an idiot either. It's these guys were extremely athletic.
Yes. Well, I mean, you got a guy. He's not actually. Is he in the game? I mean, Bobby Jones. I don't. No, he's not there yet. But Bobby Jones was the North Carolina State high jump champion, and in the finals, he beat Bob McAdoo.
Yeah.
Who then won it the next year. These two guys, 6'8" and 6'9", Hall of Fame basketball players, were all-state high jumpers.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s.
Yes, he does.
Okay? People know that Dr. J jumping from the free throw line in the ABA. That was early 70s.
Yep.
All right. There's a video on YouTube of Bill Russell grabbing a rebound, going coast to coast, jumping from about 18 inches inside the free throw line, hurdling a guy a la Vince Carter, and finger rolling the ball into the basket with a bent arm. He couldn't even extend his arm. He was still so close to the basket that his arm was at a 90-degree angle, and he drops it in. These guys were insanely athletic, but the rules of the day were made to take the athleticism out of the game and make it focus on basketball skill, on execution.
Final round of the Kemper Open coming up.
Yep.
the person that boxed out and dove for loose balls and set proper screens was just as important as the guy that could score 28 a game.
McGinnis left perimeter.
So Jared Kay,
4:45.
longtime supporter of the channel, in respect to his trolldom, says that it's not athleticism that makes the difference, it's a skill.
He'll take the shot. It's 10 again.
I don't
Back then,
Lloyd free.
it's not that these guys aren't skilled. Like people like to make fun of how they dribbled. Rex has brought it up before. They could not
Jones stationary
turn their
off
hand.
the
It had to be a
side.
straight up and down
Hands there,
dribble.
watching the middle
So
carefully.
it's not,
Shot clock being used up by
they're dribbling that way because they had to. And people will make fun of that because they don't understand those aspects of the rules.
well, trying to argue this on my channel, I've got a video called Sweet Georgia Brown. That's a highlight film of the Harlem Globetrotters from the 1930s and 40s.
Hmm.
And they're doing all the fancy dribbling and all that, showing off for the fans. They knew how to do it. It was not legal to do it in a regulation game back then.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the part that fans don't. The thing that drives me crazy is they think if they didn't see them do it in a game, then they weren't able to do it,
Yeah.
which is the most ridiculous thing ever, because they'll sit there and say, well, guys back then couldn't jump. Why don't you see it? Why didn't you see it in the games? Okay, well, I'm told Michael Jordan had a 48-inch vertical leap. Show me the video of him with his head over the rim. It
Yeah.
does not exist. So tell me which one is right, which one is true. You believe it on one hand, but then don't believe it on the other.
Well, and that's the funny thing. It seems like basketball, a large majority of basketball fans in general, it seems like this is the only sport where they're just massively disrespected for their skill sets. That they pretend that 2000s on or 2010 on is when real basketball, quote unquote, started. But I don't hear any of this stuff about combat sports or football or baseball or hockey. I can't think of another sport where they're so critical about how the game was played back in the 70s, 80s, or 90s or
The only
earlier.
one, the game that has transformed the most is tennis.
Yeah.
But that's because of the equipment and the courts. That tennis is a totally different game. You take the guys from back in the 60s, Rod Laver, those types of guys, they very likely wouldn't be the top players today because the game has changed oh so much.
Okay.
But that's a one-on-one game.
Yeah.
Basketball, you know, like Oscar Robertson said, you know, you shoot, you dribble, you pass, you rebound. Those things haven't changed in 130 years. The thing, I mean, this all goes back to Stern. It's actually Stern that told the when digital recording was invented. The NFL, everyone knows NFL films, right? Everyone remembers seeing those films, you know, on the frozen tundra, Mike Francetta doing the commentary, right? Talking about the historic games. When digital recording came out, they were the first to take all the NFL films going back to 1931, I think, is how far they went back, and transferred all of it over to digital because the film disintegrates. Then baseball did it. So you can actually go on YouTube and you can watch Murderer's Row. from the 1927
Power if you want.
World Series.
Lucas.
You can see Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, those guys, right?
Great talent.
David Stern told the NBA films department the exact opposite. Do not transfer over anything. We're starting fresh going forward. You don't make the game bigger by advertising guys that don't play anymore.
Another
Now-
hook shot.
Yeah, you can't market dead guys. That was David Stern's thought. Whoever's playing today are the greatest players ever, and destroy all evidence to the contrary. That's how you expand the sport and make it more popular. And he was right, and it worked.
Travel.
But for those of us who actually care about the history of the game and how we've gotten to where we're at, and all the great players, coaches, and contributors along the way, we're just talking in the wind. The vast majority of 20 and 30-year-olds that are subscribed to your channel and mine are not watching us right now because we're talking about something that does not interest them in the least, and they don't believe.
Yeah.
And that is because of Stern.
Yeah. But we're still going to talk about this stuff because it needs to be heard.
Well, this is basketball. If you go see 80% of the games being played today around the world, they're going to look more like this game than they are going to look like Lakers, Golden State.
Yeah.
A chance for a three-pointer.
Right? This is basketball. To the average players out there that just play for fun, that are doing it to stay in shape, that are out there with their boys, they're out there with their girls, and they're teaching them, they're giving it to the next generation, and they're spending, Friday night at the high school, because the neighbor's kid is the power forward on the JV team, and you're supporting the local school and all that. Going to your alma mater, and you're going to the big last game you're going to senior night at University of wherever you went. Those people, this is basketball. This is how you learn the game. This is how you play the game. And not that. We can't do that.
Yeah.
But that move aside, but you know what I mean? We can't go out and shoot like Steph Curry. Okay, we can't hang in the air like these guys, and we can't do these types of things. But the conventional, traditional style of basketball, where it's 5 guys against 5 guys, we're going to assert our game plan, and we're going to assert our will on you, and we're going to beat you with execution and fundamentals, and you out-fundamental each other to show which team plays basketball better. Not which team can have the most highlights, not which player can get the most dunks, but we're going to play as the Vince Lombardi style of basketball, I guess you'd say. I know he was a football coach, I get it. But that philosophy,
Yeah.
that's what you see here. This late 70s is the pinnacle of conventional basketball.
And we've talked about it before, that a lot of people like to talk about parity, about how the game, or nowadays versus, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s, whatever, has all these players across all these teams that are so amazing, and it's such a challenge that nobody knows who's going to win in the beginning of the year. Not to say that you really know, but that there aren't favorites, that people don't know what team is going to be a favored team. The 70s is the antithesis in respect to basketball because pretty much every decade in the NBA has had a dynasty, or more than one dynasty. And the 70s, I think, is the perfect picture. And like what you said, Rex, and I think that's a great point, is the ABA-NBA merger, let alone just the general expansion of the league and the rule changes, all that together. I think the 70s was the most, if you want to call it, competitive decade in the history of the NBA. And we've talked about it before. But just to add to what you're saying, nobody won more than 2 championships in that decade for one single team.
Yeah, and Go Fly, I'm stealing that, by the way. Modern NBA is pickleball. I'm taking that. I'm just telling you now. I'm just ripping it off from you blatantly.
Yeah, no, that is hilarious.
Yeah, you gotta do a video on that, man. You gotta do a short. just showing like Luka, another guy, and Steph and them just chucking threes back and forth and speed it up. You know, speed up the
just cut the pickleball in between each shot.
and then just have NBA pickleball. There you go. But
yeah, that's hilarious.
I really see today as a parody of the game rather than an evolution of the game. Because, and I don't blame them, okay? It's not the player's fault. You play by the rules you have to play by. Just like the guys in the 50s couldn't do spin moves, go around the back between the legs. Guys today, they have to learn a three-point shot if they're a 6'11", 250-pound center because that's the way the game is played. They can't, set the hard back screens anymore. You can't, you know what I mean? They have to play by the rules. They still have their dream and the skill to play at the highest level, so you can't penalize the players, okay? Any guy in the NBA today could play in the 80s, could play in the 50s. Any guy that played in the NBA in the 50s could play in the 80s or play today. They're the best of the best, playing the way they were taught to play at that time. But the thing, like, you would just grab, like, Bill Walton, who learned to play in the 60s, was at his best in the 70s, and played through the mid-80s. If you were to think if Bill Walton didn't come along and was 19 years old today, wouldn't be the best college freshman in the country, you're insane.
Yeah.
He understood the game at just not even a genius level, but at a level that maybe 10 people in the history of the game have understood the game at. That kind of level.
Yeah.
Okay? To think that, he couldn't play it. That is so ridiculous, just ridiculous. It's so insane. And it tells you that someone is a total fan. That they've never actually been on the court playing against any great players or played against a great team. I played against that Dunbar team back in the mid-'80s. Now, 5 of those guys went on to the NBA. 4 of them were first-round draft picks. The one that wasn't was David Wingate, who was the first pick of the second round. Okay? Yeah. I played those guys. Not only were each of them individually just fantastic, but the team, the guys on the bench, were 15, 16 years old and knew more or as much, I won't say more, knew as much about how to play the game as our coach did.
Yeah.
Okay? These guys were just amazing. It was just amazing to be out there, which is why we got stomped by 30 in total all. We had no chance to begin with. But, you know what I mean? It was like, but I learned so much just being in the middle of it. You don't get that. That's the one thing about expansion I don't like is when you separate the great players, you don't get to see what great team basketball looks like.
Yeah.
because you'll have one all-star
They can make it 9.
and then a few other quality players, some journeymen, and then you got the 10-day contracts at the end of the bench that you don't even bother learning their names or their wife's names because they're not even going to be there in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not a great team.
Yep. And I think so. With the 70s, I don't think that was necessarily the case. I think it was just a massive influx of talent with the teams that they added to the league. And just to bring it back to that, is I think that it was the perfect storm for great basketball to be watched. Because
it was the germination of the greatest era of basketball, which was the post-merger, pre-expansion era. When you're talking the late 70s, especially all of the 80s and into the first half of the 90s, was the best basketball.
Yeah.
It's where you had, what you were saying, the perfect storm. You had players that were trained, experienced. You started getting international players coming in, so you started getting different perspectives of how to play the game. You started getting the more open international competition with the fall of the Soviet Union and all of the Soviet players being able to come. And you just saw the growth of the game from the beginning of the 70s to the end of the 70s was the perfect preparation, if you will, for the Bird, Magic, and then Jordan eras to just explode. You wouldn't have had the global explosion of the game if the 70s had not transpired how they did. If the ABA had survived and we had 2 professional leagues, both leagues, neither one would have been able to claim the best competition because the best players would have been split and you wouldn't have had the just elevator like rise that going on through the 80s to the 90s.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been there. You had to have things happen exactly how they happened. Things that people don't think about, like the freshman rule in college, where freshmen were not allowed to play. Okay? What do you think they're doing for that year? They're just honing their individual skills. That was something that always cracked me up when young guys talk about, oh, well, players back then had to have jobs and they couldn't work on their game. All right, once you get to the NBA, you've already worked on your game 35,000 hours.
Yeah.
Okay? And for these freshmen in college, when you're not allowed to play with the team, that's what you're doing is you're on the intramural squad and you're still playing and you're still being coached, but the games don't count, which means you get to expand on your abilities. You're able to take risks. You're able to take this guy that he's a great all-around guard, but he really needs to work on his court vision and his ball handling. So you play him at point guard. Well, that's something that if he just went straight to the varsity, he wouldn't be able to do because the games are too important. You couldn't risk it. But playing on the freshman team, you got a whole year of him playing in the intramurals as a point guard and improving. Then he joins the college team, and he still has 3 years of maturity, both physically and mentally. Then, if he's lucky, he goes to the NBA. You had a more finished product entering the league. Now they draft on potential. That's why they're so hit or miss, and they've gotten rid of the entire draft except for like one round or 2 rounds. It's either 1 or 2 rounds.
It's 2 rounds, but most of the time the second round guys don't even make. A lot of the times, let me say, I don't know if it's most, but a lot of the time the second round guys won't even make the team.
Which is insane because the rosters are 50% bigger than they were back then.
Yeah.
Now they can carry 16 guys. They used to carry 12.
Yeah.
But they had 13 to 16 rounds in the draft.
Yeah.
There was one year, Carl Lewis was drafted by the Houston Rockets.
That's hilarious.
In 1984.
Yeah.
They had the first pick and they drafted Akeem.
Mm-hmm.
And then with their last pick, they drafted Carl Lewis.
Yeah.
Nancy Lieberman, I believe, was drafted by the Indiana Pacers one year. I think it was like 85.
Yeah.
One year, a team tried to draft a chair. True story.
They tried to draft a chair, a physical.
Tried to draft a chair. Can't remember who it was. I think it was Cleveland. They tried to draft a chair, but commissioner wouldn't let them do it.
The thing you sit on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's literally there's too many draft picks and there's literally no one left that they wanted.
Yeah.
But
that's funny. Now
it's the opposite, and it's all on potential. And, you have guys like Dan Dickau. There's another guy, shooting guard, that went to like China and made millions. And
Jimmer Fredette.
Jimmer Fredette. Okay, these are the guys that couldn't even they couldn't make a team anymore because they fill the benches with athletes.
Yeah.
Where back in the day, the athletes would be working at Kmart, and the guys that would sit the bench were the undersized, under-athletic guys that were superb basketball players.
I just want to add for the people, because I want to let you keep going on this, but I agree 100%. For the people that have been watching my channel, I've said this about 1 billion times. I think it's a joke that they do this, where they just draft a guy that can jump hyperbolically 80 inches and can run a 2 instead of a 4-4. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, but anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and Go-Go Fly. Yes, I have seen one-on-one with Robbie Benson and who was his tutor in that movie? I think it might have been Jo Beth Williams. All I got to say to you, Go-Go Fly, is with a red hot poker. You'll know what that means.
I haven't seen the movie. When was it? When was it released?
I believe like 1979, 1977, somewhere in there. That was a nice trailer right there. But the One-on-One was a great basketball movie. Fast Break. If you remember the TV show Welcome Back, Kotter, where John Travolta got his first starring role as Vinnie Barbarino. Gabe Kaplan, who plays the teacher, who plays Kotter, he starred in a basketball movie where he's just a middle-aged guy playing on the playground in New York City, and he's sitting there talking with a general manager or an owner of a college, or not. No, that's right. It was college. With a athletic director, I guess it was, watching the playground game. And he's sitting here picking apart, saying all the stuff with this player. He's got this, and he's got to do this, and watch. They're going to swing around this way. He's going to make this shot. He's no good over here. And the guy says, "Hey, do you want to be my college coach?" So he becomes the college coach at Cadwalader University. That's actually a great basketball movie. The Fishes Saved Pittsburgh. That's another one. Misspelled Pittsburgh though. Work on that.
One recent movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's not necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a basketball movie. It's just got basketball as the main theme in it. I forget what it's called, but I love that movie. I actually made a community post about it. With Woody Harrelson, where he's the coach of he was a college coach or a pro coach, and he got fired because he started a fight or something like that. And then his community service was that he had to go and I think I pulled over for drunk driving, but he had to go coach a special needs team.
Yeah.
It's not all like pure basketball, but none of those movies are really. But I thought that was a really good recent movie that came out. Just to add.
I think Hoosiers may be the best.
Yeah.
But they fictionalize so much of that story. If you actually read the book, Miracle in Milan, and learn the real story, it's not as dramatic, but basketball-wise, it's just as good a story.
Yeah.
Norman, the coach Norman Dale, played by Gene Hackman, one of the greatest actors ever. He plays, an over-the-hill coach that coached a national championship team and then punched one of his players, a la, what's his name at Ohio State? Woody?
I don't know the name.
One of the all-time greatest football coaches in history punched a player back in the 70s.
Okay.
And basically they took that story, and so he lost his job and was banned from coaching and college athletics. Then World War II broke out, so he joined the Navy. In real life, the coach of the Milan team, or Hickory, as it is in the movie, was, I believe, 24 years old.
Okay.
So there was none of that drama. Jimmy Chitwood, the star player with all the personal drama, his parents had died and all that. He had quit playing basketball and he had to be coaxed back into the game. The actual main guy on the team was Billy Plump, and he had none of that drama. But I actually like the real story better because the real drama transpired on the court, which is where we want. That's why sports is the ultimate reality show.
Yeah.
I prefer the real story. And the real story, the team that Milan beat to win the championship, on the losing team was a freshman sitting on the bench named Oscar Robertson.
Oh, yeah.
He did not like the movie Hoosiers.
I remember you brought this up before, yeah.
Yeah. He was not a fan of the movie Hoosiers because he was on the losing team in real life.
Yeah. So that fun formula that I made a couple months ago, Oscar Robertson was a top 10 guy. I think he won the assist title 6 times.
Six times, I believe.
Yep, and an NBA championship.
Yep.
You're in rare air if you win a statistical category title more than once.
Wasn't he an MVP also?
Also an MVP once.
And 66, I think, or 64, 66, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I don't think he ever won the scoring title, but he came in second, I think, more than once. Go Fly. Bobby Knight, no. It's the Ohio State football coach. Woody Hayes. Woody Hayes.
Yeah, I never, I don't even know what that is, to be fair.
His Hall of Fame career ended when he punched a player on the sidelines. If you YouTube it, it's on. There's film of it.
Okay.
Yeah, Woody Hayes.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's when all these movies, a lot of these movies started coming out, was during this era, like 77. When the ABA and NBA merged, you started getting these movies, One-on-One, then Fish Has Saved Pittsburgh, then The White Shadow was on TV, which that's on my channel. You can see the first season. I think I might even have the first 2 seasons on my channel of the best sports TV show ever. But yeah, I mean, this is when fans started wanting more basketball. But it wasn't until Stern took control of the business side of the NBA office that they started aggressively pursuing that. It was the thing that the NBA had is you didn't have supply and demand. The demand was there. People wanted more basketball. There were basketball TV shows, basketball commercials, basketball movies, and they're cult classics. But the NBA office they had no marketing expertise whatsoever. I mean, I got a signature Dr. J basketball. I ordered out of a comic book. Okay, that was the marketing plan of the NBA in the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Stern came in and everything changed. In all reality, the NBA GOAT is David Stern.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yes, after World War II, it was baseball movies. That's true. And during World War II, actually, I believe the Lou Gehrig story, I think, was actually made during World War II. Babe Ruth movie also was made during World War II. But yeah, because baseball has always been considered an uplifting game, so it's always like the Field of Dreams. It's always now obviously 8 Men Out does not fall into that category. But baseball movies are always feel-good movies. Always. And after World War II, getting back to that sense of, homegrown, for lack of a better term, goodness, baseball movies became really big. But when you look at the basketball right here, we're getting down to the end of the game. It's a mad dash at this point. They're just trying to be frenetic. They try and get turnovers. They're down by 6 or 7 with 2 minutes to go. But they can't. You see, they're trying. Well, they did get the charge. Today, that would never be a charge.
No, never.
Watch from this angle. Perfect angle. Yeah, you want to talk about LeBron flopping?
Yeah.
You see that?
Well,
I think that was a mix.
Well, that's the thing that I try to say in relative. I'm not really defending LeBron, but a lot of people pretend like he's the guy that invented flopping. No, they flopped the entirety of NBA history.
Yeah. But like I said, it really started getting out of hand with when Krzyzewski started working with the international teams. And it's something that has been around in international ball forever. And he brought it to Duke during those Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley days. The stepping in to take the charge. And when you go down, you got to make sure you go, oh! That whole thing. They taught that. I saw an interview with Marty Conlon, and who was a member of those teams. And he talked about how they worked on it every practice, taking the charge. and the flopping and all of that. And then Krzyzewski became one of the international coaches, first an assistant, then the head coach. And with the Dream Team, now he's influencing and he's teaching it to NBA players. You got Dennis Rodman, who perfected it in the mid-90s. I mean, that's one part of international ball that I never liked. Unfortunately, it was part that I was really good at. So I did it. But I always felt like a cad doing it.
Yeah.
But I was phenomenal. I should have Oscar trophies.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. Were you better than LeBron?
Better, yes, because I sold it better. I actually flopped one time so perfectly that by the time I rolled over and acted like I was getting my senses back, I looked up thinking it was my coach, and it was an EMT. They actually called an EMT from off the court to come out to me because they thought I really had a concussion.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But I was the king at driving the middle, jumping up in the arms on purpose to get the contact, and then I wouldn't catch myself when I fell.
Yeah.
So I would land with a thud, and I would make sure to smack the hardwood as hard as I could, and then grab my head.
Yeah.
And I got the call nearly every time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, there was one game, this was an amateur game, where, in fact, it was a kids' league game. Yeah, it was my last year playing in the kids' league. We had a kid in the league that averaged like 40 and 20.
Yeah.
His brother played at Providence College, Billy Fields. Played against Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullen, all those guys. And his dad was a Negro League baseball player and a Tuskegee Airman.
Okay.
This is a very esteemed family.
Yeah.
And the younger brother named Mark, he was just lighting up the kids' league. No kid could do anything against him. I mean, he was like 6'3", 38-ish inch vertical leap, muscular. Just in a kids' league, it was a joke.
Yeah.
You know? And the coach would not put me on him. But I had just played him on the playground the week previous and had figured him out.
Yeah.
But my coach would not listen to me. And I sat there saying, put me on him. I can get him. But because he was so much bigger than me and everything, they never even considered it until our main guy, Doug, fouled out. So then they had to put me on him because I was just the most athletic guy on the team.
Yeah.
I fouled Mark out in 3 minutes. He actually fouled me once.
Yeah. Just to bring it back into this game, and let alone this series, where do you rank this series for your personal favorites of final series of all time?
Number 3.
What are the other two?
Well, just above this one, I got 86.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
With Celtics and Houston. Houston had a bad rap. That they were just too inexperienced.
Yeah.
Sampson's injuries going forward after that were a much bigger deal than people looking back really put on it. If he had been able to stay healthy, it would have changed the dynamics of the entire NBA landscape for a decade.
Yeah.
Number 1 is 83. And the only reason I don't have 69 in there is because, in my opinion, the 69 finals, which was considered the greatest upset in American sports history until the miracle at Lake Placid, is because it was decided because of a coaching error. And not an error, a coaching decision that was made out of spite.
Yeah.
When Van Bredekoff refused to put Wilt back in the game because he wanted so badly to win the title without Wilt.
Yep.
And that's the only reason. If that had played out naturally, that would be my favorite without a doubt. Some of the shots, the clutch shots between that is the most underrated series. Sam Jones against Jerry West
Yeah.
in '69 was beyond iconic.
Yeah.
But you can't watch the entire series because not all the film footage is there. And because of Kobe, West is not talked about as a player. Everyone brags about him as a GM.
Yeah.
No one talks about his playing career because of Kobe now. Kobe played same position in modern times, so he gets all the love. And then Sam Jones is completely ignored.
Yeah.
And because if you actually acknowledge Sam Jones, then you have to acknowledge that he has as many game winners as Michael Jordan. And the modern media doesn't want to do that. So we can't acknowledge Sam Jones.
Now, Sam Jones is, you brought up, so for me, because I was able to watch it, and I'm sure this probably had something to do with some of your picks too. But for me, I had mentioned that my personal favorite for what I watched was the 2014 finals with the Spurs Heat. But because I'm a Sixers fan, and I know, I feel like, well, actually, I know more than most people about the NBA history in general, but let alone being a Sixers fan, with that 83, the faux with just a one loss. To me, as a Sixers fan, it was them going all in with the 3 losses beforehand, including this one, with the 77, 80, 82, and 83, and then finally they win in 83. It's kind of bittersweet, and just the way, and in no way Moses Malone was, anyone would say he was articulate, but the faux, I just thought was great because they were just that dominant.
Okay, well, yeah, to that point, the reason it's number one for me is because it was what the NBA has now become to an extreme.
Mm-hmm.
People criticize KD. People criticize LeBron.
Yeah.
We're going team to team, right? Moses was the first one.
Yeah.
Unrestricted free agent, first one ever, signed with Philadelphia. No one criticized him.
Yeah.
They had been to 3 finals in the previous 7 years. 6 years.
Yeah, 77, 83. So yeah.
Yeah. 77, 80, and 82.
Yeah.
They had been to the finals. They had Dr. J.
Yep.
Most exciting guy in the game.
Yep.
He joins that team. No one said anything. No one said, oh, what a cop-out, anything like that. First free agent to sign the big contract to join an already dominant team and put them over the hump to win the championship. It's the first modern
Super
team creation, if you will.
Super team, quote unquote. No.
And, they're going against the team that had been Malone's nemesis when he was at Houston in the West.
Yeah.
He always, not always, but the vast majority of the times outplayed Kareem.
Yeah.
Head to head.
He was a monster. Yeah.
But he was, in a lot of ways, alone in Houston.
Yeah.
Same way Hakeem was for so much of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And he would lose to LA. Then he goes to the other conference. He joins Dr. J. Now he meets LA in the finals.
Yeah.
And he gets his payback.
Yeah, they got smoked, LA.
Yeah, it was just for that one season. And you have all the different types of players I love. You got the center that is the workhorse effort guy in Moses. He wasn't pretty. He outworked you.
Yeah.
No one looked at Moses and thought he had just uncanny basketball ability. He beat you the old-fashioned basketball way. He out-hustled you to the ball.
Yeah.
That's how he beat you.
And I don't think you're saying he wasn't a skilled basketball player, but he just had that much
We're
more.
talking at the all-time elite level.
Yeah, he just had that much more umph than everybody else.
Yeah. He did not have Hakeem's footwork. He did not have a sky hook. You know, he didn't have, Ewing's jumper. He didn't have Russell or Wilt's shot blocking ability. He didn't have Wilt's athleticism. I mean, he had a gut for half his career. He just he had the hard hat and the lunch pail. He came to work and he outworked you.
Yeah.
And I love that type of player. And then you have Dr. J, who is the first of the modern high flyers. You had high flyers before him. Yes, I know Connie Hawkins and those guys, but they weren't in the modern era. They were in the 60s into the 70s. Dr. J, we're now talking going into mid-80s.
Yeah.
You had Andrew Toney, the shooting guard that, when he was on, there was just nothing you could do. And then you have the Bobby Jones, the 6'8" forward. Everything that defensively they claim LeBron is, he was. He could cover 1 through 5 and did at an all-star level. But he'd also give you 16 and 8 with amazing defense. And the thing is, he was the guy. He is a completely devout Christian to the nth level. That is very stabilizing in the locker room. Someone who's very solid character-wise. There's no drinking. There's no smoking. There's no groupies. There's none of that. Nothing. There's not even a cuss word. That's a very grounding type of thing in the locker room during a long season, when guys can't always be on cue every single day, and things can erupt. He's a calming influence in the middle of the locker room. A lot less disputes in that locker room, which is huge, guys. Fans don't understand. You're in the locker room almost as much as you're on the court. You're in the locker room before a game. You're in the locker room at halftime. You're in the locker room after a game. You're literally in the locker room for almost as long as you're on the court. It's a very important part of a basketball team. And Maurice Cheeks, out of West, where'd he go? West Texas State, I think it was.
I don't know.
But he was just, he was the all-time steals leader before John Stockton. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Gus Williams was too on the sidebar because Pierre was here earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And they, just very, very traditional point guard. Just ran the game very fundamentally, very headsy. A lot like Lenny Wilkens. For those of you who are old enough to remember Mo Cheeks, but too young to know that Lenny Wilkens actually played and was a Hall of Fame player, top 75 player, they're almost a mirror image of each other. They're very much alike. In fact, if I had to pick someone who was like Lenny Wilkens, Mo Cheeks is the most like Lenny Wilkens. And that 83 team The biggest improvement, though, other than Moses, was the coaching change. When Billy Cunningham,
Former
came in.
76er. Yep.
Yeah, because Gene Shue at one time was the losingest NBA coach in history. He had lost more games than any other coach, but that's because he coached for so outrageously long.
Yeah.
But after a certain amount of years, Phil Jackson always said after 7 years, your players don't listen to you anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they had. They built this team out of the merger. Gene Shue was at the helm, very competent coach, a teaching coach, if you will, very fundamentally sound. Which is ironic that he brought the spin move to the NBA.
Player development coach, as they say now.
Yes,
Yeah.
There you go. But you could see how the team was stagnating. Boston was coming up.
Mm.
And they made the change to his name just jumped out of my head, Hall of Famer, Cunningham.
Billy Cunningham.
After you got Jerry West, you got Larry Bird. After those two as greatest combo player, coach, GM, president, then you have Billy Cunningham.
Yeah.
I believe Billy Cunningham built Miami.
I don't know. Yeah,
he left the Sixers and was the president of the Miami Heat. And I believe it was him that brought Riley there. If someone can Google that and check that out, I think that's the chronology of it. I think that's how it went. He built the Miami Heat.
On a quick lighthearted sidebar, Riley with LA, New York, and Miami. I mean, where else would you want to be? Anyway, I didn't mean to interject, but
Dream life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Also, people don't understand how iconic Pat Riley is.
Yeah, he's one of the best. And I'm not saying you did this on purpose, but Pat Riley should be included in that list that you said earlier too. With Bird, he wasn't a great I don't want to say he was a great player, but he did play.
Well, that's why I didn't include him.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all-time great players, Hall of Fame players who became great coaches, GMs, and presidents.
Is Pat Riley was he inducted? Did they not? So I mean, I get what you're saying. Like he wouldn't have been inducted because
there's an asterisk. No, he is in the Hall of Fame as a player. There's an asterisk
because he was
a member of Rupp's Runts.
Yeah.
Okay, that undersized NCAA championship team where he played center at 6'5".
Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah.
They lost. Okay, do you remember what was the name of the movie about? Darn it! The names are all jumping out of my head. This is what happens when you have COVID. About it a couple years ago, the first all-black college team to win the NCAA tournament. They're out of West Texas, El Paso, but they were called something else when they won the NCAA championship, and I think it was 65 or 66.
The team is called the Miners here.
UTEP?
Yeah, UTEP Miners,
But I'm trying to think of the name of the movie. But the team that they beat to win the national championship was Rupp's Runts, which had Pat Riley.
Yeah.
As the star. Then he goes on, played a lot with the Lakers. Jerry West backup, Gail Goodrich.
I Oh, so I was mistaken. I thought he was on the Knicks.
Glory Road, yes. Go Fly. Thank you. God, that was driving me crazy. You need to watch that movie since you're out there. Glory
Okay.
Road is the name of it.
Yeah.
But Pat Riley was there. Really career backup in the NBA, but then went straight into assistant coach for the Lakers after retirement, I believe. Might have started with Phoenix. I'm not certain.
He played one. If you're talking about, never mind. He played 1 year in Phoenix, and then he played 5 years in LA, and he played in San Diego for a few years in the beginning of his career. Yeah.
Yep. But obviously the coaching, he joins LA, the second of Magic's championships as the head coach, goes as head coach on 2 through 5.
Yeah.
Then goes to the Knicks. Don Haskins, yes. Thank you. God, that's embarrassing. I've actually met the man. I couldn't remember his name. He ended up going to was it Western Kentucky, becoming the coach at Western Kentucky, I think, and coach Tellis Frank, who was a good player in the 80s. 6'10", small power forward, kind of like Stoudemire.
Or Amari Stoudemire.
Amari Stoudemire, yeah. But yeah, the only thing I didn't like about Riley in New York was I really kind of felt like after they lost to Detroit in 89 with the Lakers, I felt like he went to the Knicks and he tried so hard to beat Detroit at Detroit's game. He tried to make the Knicks like the bad boys, but better, just to spite Daly, I felt. Maybe I'm completely wrong, completely possible. But that's the only thing about Riley that I didn't love. But no, getting back to this era, the late 70s to me was the best time of conventional basketball. It was the apex of, you had the modern athletes coming into the game. You had the Dr. J's, those type of players in the league doing their things. You had Kareem, who became the all-time scorer leader, was in his prime. You had young Moses. You could see, you look in the college ranks in the late 70s and you see, Larry Bird, Magic, they're right there. Michael Jordan's in high school, down the street here at Laney. It's all coming together. This is the foundation of the pyramid. And that's why it's my favorite time. It's before the the marketing, the overwhelming marketing influence that I think has ruined the professional game and the game in general. I mean, it was back then, it was very, everyone knew the line. When you were playing in a quote unquote real game, if you saw striped shirts, you played one way. If you're on the playground, you played another way. And the guys that you looked up to were the ones that could dominate both.
Yeah.
The guys like Dr. J, that he'd go out on the playground. He's the greatest playground player in the world.
Yeah.
Then he walks onto an ABA and an NBA court, and he's dominating there too. Because before then, there was a very strict difference. And you had the playground legends. You see, you'll never have playground legends anymore. There will never be another playground legend. Okay, you young kids that are watching, if any young kids watch me, you don't get to see what we saw. Okay? And you're worser for it. We got to see the playground legends. We got to see the guys that on the playground where it was call your own foul and traveling and all that stuff was, if a guy traveled but then did a super amazing dunk, you didn't dare call it. You get beat up. You know? Like there was a joke saying, the first time I tried going for a dunk in a game, the older guy sat there and told me, because I told him, I think I'm going to get one because my guy isn't getting back on D. If y'all throw the ball out to me, outlet it to me, I'm going to get it. And he said, well, just make sure you make it so they don't call the travel. And it was a backhanded compliment because I used to travel a lot being a little guy. I used to try and eke out that extra step to get the separation. You know, it was purely contrived. I knew I was doing it, but I was just hoping that they wouldn't call it. You know,
the last playground, and I haven't been up on it, but the last, because I don't even think the NBA players go to Rucker Park anymore. The last guy I can think of that plays in the NBA today that's done it is Kevin Durant. And I might be mistaken. Maybe there have been people that have done it, but it wasn't publicized like that. If it has,
he's the one that has the videos.
Yeah, he at least has the videos of it, but I'm sure, especially nowadays, if other NBA players came, that somebody would have taken a video of them going there. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So,
I've been told, I never saw it, and it's before the smartphone revolution, but when people talk about Steph Curry, I've heard from multiple sources, two. I've heard from two sources that Mark Price went to Rucker Park.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
In the early 90s, and he put on a performance that was Steph-like.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Like you were saying earlier, it's just how the game was played. It's not that they couldn't do it. They just didn't do it.
Yeah, well, you had to do it. The coach had the power back then. Now players have the power. Players get coaches fired, every couple months now. Literally every couple months. An NBA coach loses their job because they can't get along with a player.
Yeah.
Back then, it was not that way. The coach ran the show on every team. And you couldn't get a coach fired, unless you were one of the truly iconic players, a la Will with Van Bredekoff. But that was Van Bredekoff's own actions that caused his firing, not Will. But, it's just, I don't know what else to say about that era. It was just, to me, it was the perfect balance.
Yeah.
Of strategy, understanding the rules, to use them to your advantage, and enough athleticism that you would get that moment every game, but not like now where they try so hard to give you that moment every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's overkill.
I agree. Go Fly, it says it's been fun chatting with both of us. And he's just saying that both of our channels need to be around. People need to know this stuff. And what I find funny for me, like to speak for myself, for the person that has a platform, I think Rex, for me personally, I'll say this for myself, Rex is the smartest person on basketball history I've ever met. And I've seen him on multiple channels, and he'll get snuffed out. And to me, I've learned so much from Rex, and I like this show, and I want to keep it in respect to this Friday thing or just a general show where it's just me and you, Rex, where you get the platform to just talk, because like Gogo Fly is saying, a lot of people don't know this stuff, and they just assume things are, people assume that the way 1940s basketball was played is the same exact way that, in respect to the rules and amongst other things, that's the same thing as it is today. It's just not the case, let alone people just not understanding the different types of players and the history around the game. I would like to continue this, and just to say it again, Rex, thank you for spending time on the channel with me and just sharing your experiences with the world, because I think it needs to be heard personally. So, thank you.
Well, I mean, this is what I love doing now. Back when I was younger, I did it when I was coaching kids and I was teaching. To give an example, I think you all will understand if I tell two little stories of me coaching, not even when I was coaching school, but coaching kids league basketball.
Yeah.
There's two stories that I think explain. We had a game where it was a close game, but we were down the whole game.
Yeah.
I think we led it 2-0, and then we never led again. But we kept it close. It was a constant dogfight, but we just couldn't get over the hump. We couldn't make the play. The other team kept making the plays. And this is where I tell people, you got to have players that make plays.
Yeah.
That is the difference between winning and losing, is making a play. Getting 34 points, but you lose by 15 is completely irrelevant. Okay? Completely. You can have 6 points, but they were the most important 6 points of the game. They were the point that gets you within a bucket, the bucket to tie, and then the bucket to win. That's much more important than getting 34 and losing by 15.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I always tell coaches, I always mention what's better, shooting, shooting 8 of 9 from the free throw line or shooting 9 of 20.
Well,
any elite coach will take the 9 of 20.
Yeah.
Because
there's a foul attached to it.
More points.
Yeah.
So they'll take the 9 points over the 8 points because that's in the bag. They're in the bank. They're already counted.
And the foul's attached to it.
Oh, and that too. You get the secondary recourse, yes.
Mm.
But I had a player that his name was Isaac, and he was a wrestler on the school team. Very strong, bull in a china shop. God love him, had no basketball skill whatsoever.
Yeah.
Airballed free throws, dribbled off his foot, had no basketball skill, but he loved playing basketball.
Yeah.
And we get down, and we're down by 3 with 4 or 5 seconds to go, and there's no 3-point shot. So game's over, right? Because the other team just ran to the other end of the court. So there's no way a ghost foul could be called. So there's nothing. I got 13, 14-year-old kids here. They can't get the length of the court and force a 3-point play in 3 seconds. I call timeout. The ref yelled at me. The scorekeeper yelled at me. The parents yelled at me. The opposing coach insulted my family because I'm just prolonging the inevitable. But to me, it was a coaching moment. It was a teaching moment. So I got the team on the bench. I said, okay, we're going to run that play that we practiced in practice for the last second shot. And they're like, why? And I said, well, who wants the ball? Only one that even raised their head was Isaac. I said, okay, Isaac. So I had him throwing the ball in. I have 3 guys setting screens at the foul line extended. 5th guy is curling around. That's our point guard. He's curling around. So it looks like the play's for him. What happens is Isaac throws the ball in. Point guard doesn't even take control of the ball. He touch passes it directly back to Isaac. All he does is he throws the inbound pass, steps on the court, receives the ball back, and then shoots what would now be the 3 from a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
Right? That's the play. He can't shoot. He airballed a third of his free throws. Right?
Yeah.
But I ran this play because it's a teaching moment. Okay?
Yeah.
We're in the situation in a game right now. Right? High school had a 3-point line. College had 3-point line. Pro had 3-point line. But in this kids league, we didn't have a 3-point line because we played at the rec center, which didn't have a line on it.
Okay.
They hadn't painted a line yet, so we didn't have a line. But I still ran the play because as these kids get older, they're going to have the line.
Yeah.
So it's a teaching moment. Isaac buries the shot.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Buried it, swished it, snapped the net, the whole works.
Yeah.
The team goes crazy, jumping up and down. We still lost. They're jumping around like we won the national championship. The other team actually did win. They're happy.
Yeah.
Both teams, both crews of kids are walking out with an experience, positive experience, because they thought it was the greatest thing. Isaac's mom was in tears.
Yeah.
She literally was in tears.
Yeah.
And I told her, look, and it sounded harsh to the other parents, but she understood what I was saying. I said, Isaac has no basketball ability.
Yeah.
He's never making a real team.
Yeah.
But you know what? When he grows up, he understands the game. He has no ability to play it himself, but he understands what's supposed to be done. And he is going to have the time of his life coaching his own kids in 20 years.
Yeah.
And this game is going to be nothing but love for him.
Yeah.
As a spectator, as a fan, and hopefully as a coach when he grows up. And he understood what I was saying. But all the other people, all they heard was, oh, he just told her son had no talent.
Yeah.
He didn't. We all don't, guys. All right?
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
So, the second story, which is even quicker, we're showing up. We're the last game out of 3 games.
I don't know what's going to top that story. Is this one going to top that story? Because that was
By far, this is my best coaching moment ever. This is my Red Auerbach coaching moment.
Okay.
We're getting into the games, right? Games are being played. We're the 3rd game. It starts snowing outside. And then it really starts coming down outside. Well, by the time it comes to the time for the game, I'm thinking we're going to have to forfeit. The other team only has 5 guys. We only have 4.
Yeah.
No one's. There's like 8 inches of snow now. We're not going to be able. No one. We're not. They're going to call it, and they're getting ready to. And one of my players walks in. So now we got to play the game.
Yeah.
The 5 that showed up for me were my 5 bench players.
Yeah.
None of my starters showed up. On the other team, all 5 kids that showed up were the starters.
Yeah.
And they were the team that won the championship the year before.
Yeah.
So we know we're going to get beat. But it's like, okay, teaching moment. This is great. My bench players are going to play the entire game. They're going to get all kinds of minutes on the court. They're going to learn stuff. They're going to get – everyone's going to handle the ball 5 times more than they do in a normal game, even though I try to keep it even.
Yeah.
Because when they have the draft in Little League, other guys would try and stack their team because they just want to win a little trophy.
Yeah.
I would take all the kids that had never played before, but showed a lot of desire and raw ability.
Yeah.
So I could teach them because that's why they're there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to sit here and brag about my little,
Little
Kids
League
League trophy in
trophy.
Jacksonville, North Carolina in 2004. I'm
Yeah.
not, that's, it's about teaching.
Yeah.
So we get into the game and they immediately just are crushing us. Crushing us. They're up by 28 at halftime. Right? I think we had like 8 points.
Yeah.
And then they were full court pressing us.
Yeah.
Knowing that my guys, I had no point guard.
Yeah.
They're all kids that had never played before that year.
Yeah.
But then and I was okay with it because, hey, my kids need to learn how to handle it.
Yeah.
We're not winning the game. There's no pressure on you. We know we're losing. Okay, just play. Just play. Just have fun. Just try to execute. Try to learn. And then I got angry when the first play of the second half, they called a play for a 3-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
They're up 28.
Yeah.
They ran a play and hit a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
They go up 31, first play of the second half, and their guys are laughing and joking and start talking trash. Now, mind you, all these kids go to the same school. They all go to school together, right? So for my kids, this is going to be a very embarrassing Monday morning.
Yeah.
All right? This is going to be all over the school.
Yeah.
Eventually, it gets up to 40 points.
Mm-hmm.
And in the fourth quarter, they call a foul. Again, matter of fact, it was Isaac. They had called a foul on Isaac and said he was out of the game. And I said, no. And that's where we had the discussion about forfeit. And I had to tell the other coach, I'm like, no, it's not a forfeit. You're allowed in at the time, I don't know about now, but at the time you're allowed in the state of North Carolina to finish a game with 4 players.
Yeah.
Not allowed to finish with 3.
Yeah.
Right? They even pulled out the rule book. So now it's fresh in my mind. But while we're at the scorer's table, he didn't have 5 fouls. They had miscounted one of the fouls on one of the other players. He only had 4.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, I still got my 5. But while I'm sitting there, the statistician is staring at me. Like like awkwardly. Like I could feel it, and I didn't want to look, because it's a female. So I didn't want to look,
Yeah.
But then I had to, and I looked, and she's staring at me, and she slides the paper over. And she let me see that the other team had 2 players with 4 fouls.
Yeah.
Now, technically, this is cheating.
Yeah.
Not supposed to do that, but she was as upset with the coach of the other team as we were.
Yeah.
So I got them there in the group, and I said, okay, new game plan, guys. We cannot come back from 42 down, right? 42 down. We cannot come back, but we can still win.
Yeah.
Number 9 and number 2 both have 4 fouls.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get both of those kids to foul out, we win the game on forfeit.
Yeah.
So this is what we do. Every time we get the ball, you drive straight at them, force them to play defense on you.
Yeah.
On offense, I want all of you stepping in to take charges.
Yeah.
Every chance you can. We foul out their point guard, number 2. And I'm trying to keep cool because can't let the other coach know what's going on, or he'll just have that player stand off and not do anything.
Yeah.
And we have to get that foul. Points don't matter. Rebounds don't matter. Assists, steals, none of that matters. Getting a foul on number 9 is the only thing that can change our destiny.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one in the arena that realizes it other than the scorekeeper.
Yeah.
So we run a play. My guy, who's one of the guys that's not, he's awkward. He's growing. He ended up being like 6'6", but he's like 14 and like 6'3" at this time. He's very awkward. He's just finding his feet. He gets the ball with number 9 on him. Pump fakes, gets him in the air. And I'm like, because this is it. All he's got to do is lean in. He's got the foul. He does a fadeaway.
Yeah.
Fishes it. The most beautiful shot. And I'm like, no. What was that? That doesn't help us. But at the same time, I was like, but that looked great. That was a great shot. You know? Then on an offensive foul, number 9, I'm going over the back to get an offensive rebound. Gets called for an offensive foul and fouls out. I start jumping up and down. Now imagine this. I'm the only one in the gym jumping up and down. It was down by 43, but we just won the game.
Yeah.
And I'm jumping up and down, and then slowly my team understands.
Yeah.
Because they knew the concept. And then a couple of them were having to explain to their parents what was happening.
Yeah.
But then the ref didn't want to do it until I made him pull out the rule book and look at the passage that he had just shown us, like 20 minutes earlier. And I said, it's right there. You already read the rule. You cannot finish with 3.
Yeah.
So we win. The coaching staff of the other team was waiting at my car.
Yeah.
Outside in the parking lot after the game in the snow, which was hilarious. I just sat there for 45 minutes and let them stand out in the snow.
That's hilarious. Yeah. That's a funny story. But yeah, no, that's hilarious. And I mean, that's
you
the
got to
rule.
know the rules.
Yep.
The only reason it happened, I told the coach of the other team when I went out to my car, I'm like, hey, I don't know why you're mad at me. It happened because you don't know the rules. I knew them.
Yeah.
If you would have been aware of the rule, you could have just told number 9 to go stand over in the corner.
Yeah.
And clock would have ran out. We would have lost. But you were a jerk. You tried to embarrass 13 and 14-year-old children, so I handed it to you.
Yeah.
But that's basketball. That's when I tell people, hey, learn the game.
Yeah.
That's learning the game.
Absolutely. And I think this is a great note to end it off.
Yep.
And yeah, thank you, Rex. Thank you, Go Fly. Thank you, Jared K. Amongst Chris Raba, whoever else is in here or has been in here. Thank you very much. On Sunday, we're gonna have Angry Old Hoops back, and it's gonna be Robin Sports and Fitness Rants. Rex, you're coming, right? For
my knowledge, yes.
Greatest moments of the 80s. We'll have Hoop God here as well. So come check it out.
The kids are sick, so there's a possibility, but they're doing better. I think everything's going to be fine.
Yeah. But either way, thank you for coming. It was great having you again. It was less of a Game 6 review versus just talking over the game, but I think it was great either way.
Well, I think what it is, more than a breakdown of the game, is having it playing in the playground. You hear me now? Playing in the background sets the mood of the show.
Yeah.
The tone of this is the era that we're going to talk about in its entirety, not just this one game, but the entirety of this era. And this is the prototypical or stereotypical game to describe that era for those of you who didn't live through it.
Yeah.
So they can listen to words while they look at that visual.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good way of doing it.
I think so too. Do you have any last words before we sign off?
Bill Walton was a basketball god.
He was the Bill Walton of NBA players. Anyway.
And he went to the NBA Finals the same year his brother went to the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
His brother was a lineman for the Dallas Cowboys.
That's cool.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all for coming. And Michael Jordan fans are the best.
See y'all later.